Chapter 69. In just half a minute, Xia Pingan consumed 3 fireballs and 15 bullets. The difficulty of the Demon Eyes member exceeded Xia Pingan's expectations. When all this was over, in the elevator, other than Xia Pingan, there was only a person whose head and body had been blasted open, and his entire body was burned like charcoal on the ground. The circuits of the elevator had been damaged by the high temperature, and the light bulbs and surveillance cameras were all broken. It was stuck between the 11th and 12th floors, motionless. Strings of electric sparks fell from the top of the elevator along with the burned elevator decoration materials, and the light in the elevator flickered in the burning electric sparks. Heh heh heh. Fatty, who had already turned into a charred corpse and his head exploded, was on his last breath as he collapsed in a corner of the elevator. He was still grinning as he spoke with a hoarse voice. Don't be too happy. The final Holy Advent is coming. Enjoy this final moment of peace. When the final Holy Advent arrives, the glory of the demon god sovereign will descend from the sky along with a rain of fire, opening the prelude to the true Holy Advent. Our generation is coming. Sooner or later, all of you will accompany me, heh heh heh. Enjoy this final moment of peace, bang. The muzzle of the Manuel MR-98 spat out a ball of fire, and a silver bullet shot into the mouth of the charred body and exploded out of the back of the head. The elevator finally stopped. A total of 16 bullets. The true Holy Advent is coming? This was the second time Xia Pingan had heard a member of the Demon Eyes say this before he died. The last time, it was the main body of the brain-eating insect. The final Holy Advent? This doesn't seem to be a coincidence. Is something big going to happen? When the main body of the brain-eating insect said this last time, Xia Pingan felt that something was wrong and raised his vigilance. Is it the same this time? Xia Pingan's heart tightened slightly, but it was not the time to explore this. He looked around the elevator and tried to open it. He found that he was trapped in the elevator, and the elevator door could not be opened. He looked at Yen Duo from afar. The insects in the room were being engulfed by Yen Duo's flames. They were being refined one by one. A cloud of black fog was running around room 1706. It wanted to rush out of Yen Duo's enchantment. The battle there had yet to end. Xia Pingan did not stay in the elevator for long. He stepped on the handrail in the elevator and jumped up. With one foot, he kicked open the maintenance channel at the top of the elevator. He crawled out of the maintenance channel and entered the elevator shaft. Then, he quickly climbed up the steel rope of the elevator and climbed to the exit of the elevator on the 17th floor. He grabbed the steel rope and swung it twice in the air. Then, he kicked the door of the elevator hard. With a loud bang, he kicked a huge gap in the middle of the elevator door that was open to the left and right. The door was crooked. Although the door opened, the door opened, and the door. With another kick, the gap became bigger. With the third kick, the gap was big enough for a person to crawl out. Xia Pingan swung in the air and jumped out of the elevator. He rolled on the ground, and when he got up, he was already rushing towards room 1706. As he rushed, he took out a rapid bridge clip and loaded the MR-98 in his hand. When Xia Pingan rushed into room 1706, everything in the room stopped. Only a voice echoed. The final holy arrival day is coming. A rain of fire will fall from the sky. Hee hee, you don't have much time left, our era is coming. Eternal darkness will descend. I will wait for you below, we will meet again soon, hee hee. Xia Pingan rushed into the room and saw that Yen Duo had just turned the last of the black fog into ashes with flames. It's done? Yen Duo turned his head and looked at Xia Pingan with a relaxed expression. It's done. Xia Pingan nodded and looked around the room. Room 1706 was not much better than the elevator just now. The whole room was like a fire scene in a war zone. It was completely destroyed. Xia Pingan looked at the time on his watch. It was already 10:28 at night. Yen Duo touched his chin and looked a little serious. You heard what he said just now? Heard. Xia Pingan nodded. Before the bastard with the phantom monster died, he said that the final holy arrival day was coming. The brain-eating insect I found in Xianghe City also said the same thing. This is not a coincidence. Maybe something big is going to happen. Yen Duo's expression changed slightly and he thought for a while. Forget it. This kind of thing is not something the two of us can worry about. Let's inform the provincial department to deal with it first. Anyway, we've already gotten the 20 million bounty today. Speaking of the bounty, Yen Duo smiled and was in a good mood. He looked at Xia Pingan with a smile. You're really a lucky star. I didn't expect to find 2 members of the Demon Eyes on the first day of coming to Xinchuan City. You found the guy with the phantom monster. This time, we can show our faces in front of the old man. When can we get the bounty? Xia Pingan's pockets were almost empty. He just wanted to get some money as soon as possible. Damn it, the summoner profession really spent money like water. The 10 million seemed like a lot, but if he really got it, he wouldn't even be able to afford the slightly more expensive realm bead. Thinking about how he had bought a second-hand pickup truck in order to save money, it was no wonder that Mo Yenshao and the others had such strange expressions. For a summoner, the money he saved was not even enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. It was meaningless. Don't worry, the reputation of the boss of Xinchuan Coal is absolutely reliable. In the next few days, once he confirms it, we'll get the bounty. Yen Duo stroked his chin and looked at Xia Pingan with a gaze that made Xia Pingan's hair stand on end. The dog you summoned, could it be that it can track the aura of the demon soul? Yen Duo finally asked this question. A summoned creature that could track the aura of the demon soul was too heaven-defying. As far as Yen Duo knew, he had never heard of other summoners summoning creatures that had such an ability. However, Xia Pingan had relied on that dog to find this place tonight. That dog deserved the most credit. Xia Pingan also nodded straightforwardly. I hope that only the two of us know about this. If a third person knows about this, this will be our last cooperation. Don't worry, I won't go against money. Since you have such an ability, I'll take on similar bounty missions in the future and we'll be rich. Thinking of the future money scene, Yen Duo's saliva almost flowed out. It's just that we found these 2 guys as soon as we came out tonight. What should we say if the old man asks? If the old man asks you, just say that you don't know and push the blame to me. I'll deal with it myself. Understood, then that's it. Yen Duo nodded and had already taken out his phone to inform the provincial department. Yen Duo had already guessed what Xia Pingan would say to the old man. If the old man really asked, summoners could refuse to answer any questions related to the changes and abilities of their secret mandala. Even if the old man was Xia Pingan's immediate superior, he couldn't force Xia Pingan to reveal his secret. This was the iron law of summoners. The provincial department's cleanup team and the police arrived at the hotel 20 minutes later. The police set up a cordon outside the hotel, and the provincial department's team was responsible for the aftermath. When the hotel's cleanup work was completed, Xia Pingan and Yen Duo returned to the provincial department. It was already past 11 o'clock in the evening. As soon as the 2 got out of the car, the old man's assistant took them to the old man's office. Ahem, old man, the situation is like this. Xia Pingan and I split up to look for clues. Unexpectedly, Xia Pingan was the first to discover that there was a problem in the hotel. After the 2 of us met up, we first entered the hotel in the name of the anti-drug police to investigate and locked onto the target's room. Then, we seized the opportunity to launch a surprise attack. Before the target could cause more harm, we killed the 2 targets. Yen Duo said without blushing or skipping a beat. He even winked at Xia Pingan who was beside him. Wang Shihe frowned slightly. He did not even ask how Xia Pingan found the 2 people. Instead, he asked another question. You said that before the 2 members of the Demon Eyes were killed, They said that the real holy arrival was coming? Yenduo and Xia Pingan looked at each other. Yenduo gestured to Xia Pingan with his eyes, and Xia Pingan spoke. Yes, when we were in Xianghe City, we killed the brain-eating insect's main body. The brain-eating insect's main body said the same thing before it died. I don't think this is a coincidence. The words of these people before they die are still worth paying attention to. After hearing this, the old man's face sank. He was silent for a moment before nodding gently. Okay, I understand. The two of you did well this time. You completed the mission beautifully. Not only did you discover and lock onto the target in time, but you also killed the target before it could cause more damage. This time, I will give each of you 50 merit points. Yenduo and Xia Pingan looked at each other and spoke at the same time. Thank you, Elder. According to the rules of the Order Committee, as long as one accumulated 100 merit points, they would be able to apply for a Realm Pearl. In this mission, the two of them had each obtained 50 merit points. The total of 100 merit points was just enough for a Realm Pearl. The old man was indeed generous. Ahem, Elder, can we take on missions outside the province? Yenduo took advantage of the opportunity. Seeing that the old man seemed to be in a good mood, he asked tentatively. There were no more missions to hunt down demon spirits in E province for the time being, but there were many such missions outside the province and even abroad. The situation is tense now. The E province demon suppression guard has just been established, and it's a good skill to use people. If you want to work outside so much, how about I transfer you to the South Pole? The old man glanced at Yenduo. Yenduo quickly laughed dryly. Elder, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Don't I know what I'm capable of? I'm already too busy with the missions in the province. It's good that you know. It's okay, you can go out now. The two of them left the old man's office and came to the elevator. Yenduo then said, Strange, the old man didn't ask you how you found the whereabouts of the two demonized members? The old man is so powerful. When he saw that you didn't say anything, he probably guessed that I didn't want to say, so he simply didn't ask. Xia Pingan replied lazily. At this moment, he was thinking about something else and was a little absent-minded. Well, that should be the case. Yenduo glanced at Xia Pingan. What are you thinking about? I've just been thinking that the members of the Demon Eyes might be evil, might deserve to die, and should be torn into pieces, but they also have their own dignity and face. No one should want to live like a joke before they die, right? What do you mean? Xia Pingan's eyes moved, and his tone suddenly became solemn. If what they said before they died was false, and it won't take long to verify it, then wouldn't they be living like a joke? Hearing Xia Pingan's words, Yenduo's expression changed. Chapter 70. Not long after Xia Pingan and Yenduo left the old man's office. In the office, the old man had already turned on the quantum encrypted video conference system of the Committee of Order. The old man stood in the office with his dragon-headed cane, his body straight. A wall in the office slid open, revealing a huge conference screen. The people on the screen were the various members and powerhouses of the National Committee of Order of the Great Fire Country. At this time, the powerhouses of the committee still had not rested. Behind each of the heads was either an office or a cultivation room. I believe in the news brought by my summoners. They are the best summoners under the E-State Order Committee. This is definitely not false information, nor is it a coincidence. This is the most dangerous signal. We don't have much time left. In fact, this is the 27th warning we have received in the past 2 months. During this period, all the members of the Devil's Eye who were killed said the same thing before they died. I solemnly request here again that the country of fire declare a state of emergency as soon as possible to deal with the upcoming huge crisis. Wang Shiha's voice revealed an indescribable worry. Just because of what a few members of the Demon Eyes said before they died, we should immediately declare a state of emergency, raise the anti-space invasion level of the provinces to the highest, have everyone enter shelters, and basically stop all economic activities in the country. Isn't this a bit too much of a joke? Even if we agree, the president won't agree. On the screen, a silver-haired face spoke calmly. Old he, I'm not doubting the abilities of your subordinates, but after all, this is only the news from two ordinary members of the Demon Eyes. Even if what they said before they died might be a little exaggerated, I think this might be a trap of the Demon Eyes. Throwing out a few people can make us panic and achieve their other goals. We have to be on guard. Old he, you propose that the country immediately enter a state of emergency. It's only been a few days and you're here again. Aren't the demon suppression guards already being formed in the provinces? Isn't that enough? Yes, I also think it might be a trap and conspiracy of the Demon Eyes. Another old man with gray hair and a serious face on the screen said. According to the number of sacrifices we've discovered and monitored in the past 6 months, the scale of their sacrifices in the North Light continent hasn't reached the level of causing an S-rank space invasion. If we immediately declare a state of emergency, it will cause huge chaos in the country. Even without the Demon Eyes, a large-scale space invasion will erupt. The sacrifice of the Demon Eyes is not a prerequisite for a large-scale space invasion, Wang Shihe retorted, his voice deep like an echo in a black hole. According to the research data and information feedback obtained from the Black Hawk Project, back then, Project Eden, which destroyed the British Isles in 1945, might have opened the planar channel coordinates for a permanent space invasion. After Project Eden, the frequency and intensity of space invasions have been increasing in the past half a century, and the Demon Eyes have become more and more active. Especially in the past year or so, the actions of the Demon Eyes have become more and more abnormal. Except for small-scale sacrifices, all the members of the Demon Eyes above the black-robed priest level have ceased all activities, waiting for something. Judging from the recent signs of intensive sacrifices, I think that the words of the 2 Demon Eyes members before they died today should have aroused our high vigilance. The moment we've been worried about might really come. Yes, it's time for the Demon Eyes. Back then, the Black Hawk Project was controversial. The research results of this project have not been confirmed, and the European Atomic Energy Research Center did not agree with the research results of the Black Hawk Project. Someone immediately raised a different opinion. How do we confirm it? It only has one chance to be confirmed. Do we really have to wait until hundreds of millions of people, billions of people, die before we can confirm it? Wang Shihe's voice had unknowingly become louder. We know that you personally participated in the Black Hawk Project back then and are a firm supporter of the research results of the Black Hawk Project. You've always felt that Project Eden opened the final magic box, and the Demon Eyes announced that Holy Advent would definitely come. We all understand this, but before there is more evidence to support your conclusion, it's not appropriate to declare a state of emergency in the entire Fire Country. This will cause a series of chain reactions, and the price is too great. I think that the reconstruction of the demon suppression guards in the provinces is enough to deal with the threat of space invasions that the Fire Country will face in the future. Another person on the screen spoke, his opinion still opposing. Didn't the members of the Demon Eyes say that before the real Holy Advent, there will be a rain of fire falling from the sky, causing the entire land to fall into a sea of fire? I think this is a way to test the truth of what the members of the Demon Eyes said. I've already asked the National Space Development Agency before, and there are currently no large-scale meteorites, meteors, or asteroids in the solar system that are going to attack Earth. Moreover, there will be no large-scale meteorites or meteors attacking Earth in the next 6 months. Since July, the scale of the meteor shower in Aquarius, Capricorn, Perseus, Draco, and Orion has not fluctuated much compared to previous years. Everything is under the control of the National Space Development Agency, and it will not cause much harm to the people on the ground. Why don't we wait and upgrade our countermeasures when there are really abnormal astronomical phenomena? I agree too. It's more appropriate this way. Most of the people at the meeting agreed to adopt a more conservative response plan. Thud, thud, thud. Wang Shihe slammed the cane in his hand heavily on the ground, and the force almost cracked the ground. The old man said loudly, "You only think about what's appropriate, but you've forgotten that in history, all the most harmful space invasions happened suddenly. They never waited for us to prepare everything properly. This is a battle between races, a life-and-death war. The enemy won't wait for us to put on our armor and pick up our weapons before attacking us. If our summoners hadn't discovered the members of the Demon Eyes and successfully killed them to obtain key information, we would have been completely in the dark tonight, and we wouldn't even have had this only window of opportunity. But now you're here discussing what's appropriate?" The conference room was silent, and only the old man's voice was roaring. "Those two members of the Demon Eyes won't shoot without aim. I think we can be more cautious about this matter. I support Shihe. During this period, the provinces can conduct more anti-space invasion exercises. I also support Shihe. In addition to the anti-space invasion exercises, I think we can inform the military and political leaders of various places so that those who are willing to enter the combat readiness command centers can adapt in advance. Inform the National Defense and Military Commission as well. Tell them to be prepared." There were also a few more cautious ones who adopted a compromise plan. They were prepared to gradually use anti-space invasion exercises in cities to familiarize everyone with and adapt in advance so that ordinary people would not be so relaxed. Few people believed that the true Holy Spirit that the Demon Eyes members said would descend in the near future. Perhaps space invasions below Grade S were definitely possible. But even if the situation worsened and a Grade S space invasion occurred, there was no need for the Fire Country to panic. After all, the Fire Country was not the United Kingdom, which only had a few small islands and a few people. The Great Fire Country had plans to deal with various levels of space invasions. If there were abnormal astronomical phenomena or other strong evidence, the Committee of Order would consider upgrading the response measures. Some people felt that Wang Shihe was making a mountain out of a molehill and overreacting. The final resolution of the meeting was that the Committee of Order of each province could choose some cities to conduct an anti-space invasion exercise at different times to improve the safety awareness of the people and inform the military and political officials of the provinces and ministries about the Demon Eyes. There was nothing wrong with the resolution of the meeting. At the end of the meeting, Wang Shihe looked at the screen that went black again and closed his eyes helplessly. Half a minute later, Wang Shihe opened his eyes again. His eyes were as firm as ever, with a trace of helplessness. "Do you really not believe it, or are you unwilling?" Chapter 71. Group D, which had only been established for a day, was disbanded on the second day because they completed the mission too quickly. Without the mission, Xia Pingan could only train in the base every day like the other demon suppression guards and lose the right to go out. Fortunately, Xinchuan's coal boss was very straightforward. After only 2 days, on the afternoon of the third day, Yen Duo received the mission reward and found Xia Pingan. He transferred 10 million yuan to Xia Pingan's card in person. After receiving the reward, Xia Pingan did not even touch the money. He called Xia Ning and transferred the 10 million yuan to Xia Ning. "Brother, where did you go? How did you get so much money?" Xia Ning was shocked by the huge sum of money and quickly called, "Nothing much. Don't worry, this money came from a clean source. Think about where I work. I don't dare to transfer this dirty money to you. It will cause you trouble." Xia Pingan knows what is going on in Xia Ning's head. He has to point her out so that she won't think too much. "Hearing you say that, I'm relieved. But you don't have to transfer so much money to me. I can earn money myself now. When I checked my bank balance and saw those zeros, I was shocked. I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. I don't know how to manage the money. Help me manage the money. All right, I still have things to do, so I won't chat with you. In the future, if you can't get through to my phone, it might be because I'm on a mission. Don't worry. Alright, you guys are going to have your summer vacation soon. If you're still in Xianghe City during the summer vacation, remember to stay in Guangzhou Hotel. Don't look for other places. If you want to go to other places with your classmates, remember to stay in Guangzhou Hotel. Don't save money for me, okay? Okay, I'll remember. Brother, I'll let you manage the money first. Save it for me to find sister-in-law. Xia Pingan hung up the phone. Yenduo asked curiously, You have a sister? Of course, she's my biological sister. Yenduo rubbed his face. I thought you would take this money to buy another realm pearl. A realm pearl won't give me any fundamental improvement. At worst, I'll just master another spell and increase my divine power a little. If I fail to fuse with it, I might even fail and fail. However, with this 10 million gold coins, my little sister won't have to worry about money anymore. Even if something happens to me, with 10 million gold coins, a year's worth of interest will be enough for her to spend. Why does it look like he's making arrangements for his death? No one knows whether tomorrow or the accident will come first. I'm going to the training ground. Do you want to come? Xia Pingan had already changed his clothes in his room and was ready to go out. Haha, that place is suitable for newbies like you. I won't be going. I'll look for you if I have a mission. The two people left Xia Pingan's room. Xia Pingan returned to his room. After changing his clothes, Xia Pingan took the elevator and went directly to the underground comprehensive training ground. Xia Pingan was still doing the 400m enhanced military obstacle course. This event was a great test of physical fitness. At the same time, it could also train the human body's speed and adaptability to the greatest extent. As the members of Demon Guards couldn't leave the base at will, they would come to the training ground to do various kinds of training when they were free. There were many people in the training ground. Even though it was the 400m enhanced military obstacle course, Xia Pingan was not the only one running. The first 2 hours of training were normal. However, 2 hours later, when Xia Pingan finished one lap and returned to the starting point for a short rest, some uninvited guests quietly came to the training ground. Seeing that Xia Pingan was resting here, the uninvited guests directly came to Xia Pingan's side. Haha, so you're here. I heard that your name is Xia Pingan. Are the summoners of the Xianghe City Committee of Order all so cowardly? You only know how to run. Mu Qingshan had an annoying smile on her face as she mocked Xia Pingan condescendingly. Xia Pingan put down the mineral water bottle in his hand and glanced at Mu Qingshan indifferently. Whether the summoners of the Xianghe City Committee of Order are cowardly or not, the scar on your face should be the clearest. What, do you think that scar is a beauty for you? Mu Qingshan's eyes flashed with cold light as she looked at Xia Pingan. I didn't realize that you were so stubborn before. I underestimated you. It's not too late to realize it now. Why? Do you need something from me? Nothing, I just want to tell you that just now in the fighting ring, Li Yunzhou's arm was accidentally broken by me. He is now in the hospital. Tomorrow morning, I will be waiting for you in the ring. If you want to avenge Li Yunzhou, come and find me. If you don't have the guts and don't dare to come, I can also let you go like a fart. Mu Qingshan glanced at Xia Pingan lightly and sneered before she turned and left. The fighting ring of the base was on the upper floor. Xia Pingan had never been there before. Li Yunzhou's arm was broken by Mu Qingshan, which probably happened just now. Private fights were prohibited in the base, and the punishment for those who dared to fight in private was very severe. However, bare-handed fighting in the ring of the training ground was allowed. Xia Pingan looked at Mu Qingshan's back and stopped practicing. He directly left the training ground and went to the base's hospital. Soon, he found Li Yunzhou lying on the bed in a room with his arm in a sling. Needless to say, the medical conditions of the base, especially the treatment of bone injuries, were absolutely top-notch. Li Yunzhou had been sent here for more than an hour and was quickly treated. Other than a little bruised and swollen face and a broken arm, he seemed to be fine. For a summoner, as long as the injuries on the body were not fatal, it would not affect the casting of summoning spells. This was also the reason why the province allowed summoners to fight in the ring. Fighting with fists and feet could be done, as long as no one was killed. However, fighting with spells and weapons was more dangerous, and it would also consume the summoner's divine power. That was strictly forbidden. Seeing Xia Pingan appear, Li Yunzhou looked a little embarrassed. "Why are you here?" "Senior, I heard that you were injured in the ring. Also, I came to see if you're okay." Li Yunzhou suddenly scolded. "That bastard Mu Qingchen, when I recover, I will never let him go. Damn it, I was careless this time. I didn't expect that bastard to be so strong recently." He integrated with a bunch of realm beads and experienced several divine power infusions. His strength has greatly increased, and his physical battle strength is close to the Yuan realm. I underestimated him before, and this time, my arm was accidentally broken by him. The summoner's level system was very complicated. Even now, even on Earth, different countries and regions, or even within the same country and region, had different opinions and schools of thought regarding the division of the summoner's level system. It was difficult to unify. The Yuan realm that Li Yunzhou mentioned was originally a standard for a summoner's physical battle strength. The so-called Yuan realm referred to when a summoner's secret mandala condensed more than 210 points of divine power. After experiencing the infusions of 210 points of divine power, the summoner's body would be like a shackle being unlocked. Their physical strength and battle strength would have an obvious qualitative leap compared to before. Exceeding 210 points of divine power was equivalent to crossing a threshold, and this was the Yuan realm. If one's divine power increased to 420 points in the future, they would be in the Yuan realm. When their divine power reached 630 points, they would be in the Yuan realm, and so on. In the summoner community, some summoners recognized the number of divine power points a summoner had to divide the summoner's strength level. They directly used the Yuan realm, Yuan realm, Yuan realm, Yuan realm, Yuan realm, and so on to divide the strength of a summoner's realm. However, more summoners did not agree with this standard. Most summoners still felt that the standards of the Yuan realm and Yuan realm could only divide the summoner's physical battle strength. This division standard was closer to the division standard of martial arts. However, the summoner's true ability was not their physical battle strength, but their summoning spells. The power and effects of spells could not be divided by divine power. The most common problem with ranking based on the amount of divine power was that the summoners who had only fused with some divine power realm beads and didn't master many summoning spells might seem to have a high level and strong physique, but in a real battle, they might be directly killed by a low-level summoner using spells. Under such circumstances, there were many schools and standards for the division of summoners' levels. Some schools and standards suggested that a summoner should be divided by the number of realm beads they had fused with. A summoner who had fused with 3 foundation realm beads would be a first-level summoner. Those who had fused with 3 foundation realm beads would be reserve summoners. After that, every time they fused with a divine power realm bead, their level would increase by 1. However, such a division standard was also controversial. In such a standard, did the realm bead bag you fused with include the divine power realm beads? Did it include the treasure realm beads? Did it include other special realm beads? If the divine power realm beads were not included, then how would the summoner who had fused with the divine power realm beads and increased the divine power limit of the secret mandala be calculated? If the divine power realm beads were included, then there would be a logical error in the division of levels using divine power. The other special realm beads also had this problem. Moreover, different realm beads gave different divine power points after successfully fusing with them, and the summoning spells were also different. How could all realm beads be lumped together? More than 1,000 years ago, the state preceptor of Huaxia, Zhou Tianyi, had only fused with 7 realm beads in his life, including the foundation realm bead. However, the 7th realm bead that Zhou Tianyi had fused with could summon the heavenly strength god, and he received more than 500 divine power points in one go. The heavenly strength god that Zhou Tianyi had summoned only took 2 years to directly open up the Great God Canal in Huaxia, which was equivalent to the workload of millions of laborers for decades. According to the standard of the number of realm beads fused with, the state preceptor of Huaxia, Zhou Tianyi, could only be considered a 5th-level summoner, and could be easily surpassed by many summoners? Was there a problem with judging the summoner's level based on divine power points? Was there a problem with judging the summoner's level based on the number of realm beads fused with? Some people also felt that the summoner's level should be measured by the standard of evaluation, but who to evaluate and how to evaluate were difficult problems to solve. The military of some countries had relatively consistent opinions on this. The standard of the military was simple and crude. They directly evaluated the summoner's level based on the number of characters that the summoner could summon, such as class summoner, platoon summoner, company summoner, battalion summoner, and so on, as well as army summoner. However, there was a difference in the combat power and attributes of the characters that the summoner could summon. Some powerful summoned characters were unique, so how could they summon a bunch of them? Moreover, some summoners had developed special professions that didn't specialize in summoning ordinary combat characters at all. For those summoners who had special abilities and spells, this standard couldn't be applied. There were also huge limitations. Therefore, from the moment Xia Pingan became a summoner until now, he still didn't know what level he belonged to. Even within the Committee of Order of the Fire Country, the ability of summoners was divided only by the basic salary and not the level. Those who were strong and completed more tasks would have a higher basic salary. It was that simple. As for using the standard of 1st Yuan realm or 2nd Yuan realm to classify summoners' combat power, there wasn't any controversy. Everyone could understand and approve of this. Hearing that Mu Qingqian's combat power was close to the 1st Yuan realm, Xia Pingan was slightly surprised. This was because as far as he knew, in the entire Xianghe City Committee of Order, only 2 Polu's combat power was close to the 1st Yuan realm. That Mu Qingqian's combat power is close to the 1st Yuan realm? I can't be wrong. Old Tu and I have sparred a few times in the arena. Old Tu's body is strong to begin with, and with the effects of the divine power infusion, his body's strength is close to the 1st Yuan realm. And the pressure that guy gave me in the arena is about the same as Old Tu's. By the way, did he go looking for you? Yes. Don't go. That bastard has already spread the word that he wants all the summoners of the Xianghe City Committee of Order to be hospitalized. You're not his opponent now. If you go, both of us will be lying here. That would be too embarrassing. Li Yunzhou hurriedly stopped him. Don't worry, senior. Have a good rest. I know what to do. After chatting with Li Yunzhou for a while, and comforting Li Yunzhou, Xia Pingan left the hospital. As soon as he left the hospital, Yen Duo called. Did that trash Mu Qingqian provoke you to fight in the arena tomorrow? Xia Pingan's eyebrows twitched. How did you know? He has already spread the word. Everyone in the Demon Suppression Guard knows. If you don't go tomorrow morning, it will be a slap to your face. You won't be able to raise your head in the future. If you go, he will beat your people. You might end up like Li Yunzhou and be hospitalized. Your entire Xianghe City Committee of Order will lose face. That trash has grudges with several summoners of the Xianghe City Committee of Order. The scar on his face was left by Old Tuesday. You know about this, right? I know about this. By the way, are you familiar with that Mu Qingqian? That guy got lucky. He fused with a treasure realm bead and became a blacksmith. He can already forge magic longswords. His status is different now. He is also the son-in-law of the Gao family. He is very popular in the summoner circle in Ijo. The reason he joined the Demon Suppression Guard this time is to take credit and pave the way for the future. His ambition is not small. It sounds like Mu Qingchen is very difficult to deal with. He. Yen Duo laughed weirdly on the phone. Why don't we make a deal? As long as you agree to follow me in the future, I will go on stage and beat that guy up in advance so that you won't be in a difficult position. How about this suggestion? Do you want to consider it? Chapter 72. He never thought that Yen Duo would actually make such a suggestion. Xia Pingan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't know whether to say that he was offering help or taking advantage of the situation. That guy's physical strength is about to reach the 1 yuan realm. Can you beat him? My physical strength has long been at the 1 yuan realm. It's just that I've always kept a low profile and didn't want to spread it around. Do you think I can beat him? Yen Duo's voice on the phone was somewhat proud. If I didn't have some skills, how could the old man let me set up the Yen battalion? Xia Pingan had never seen Yen Duo fight before. He never thought that Yen Duo's physical strength had already reached the 1 yuan realm. This made Xia Pingan somewhat surprised. Aren't you afraid of offending the Gao family and Mu Qingchen? I've long disliked that trash. As for the Gao family, if I offend them, then so be it. Although the Gao family is powerful, the Ijo province is not under their control. The Gao family also has to think about the consequences of offending me, Yen Duo. I'm not afraid of him. Yen Duo's tone was very confident. Thanks, I'll take care of this myself. Oh right, there should be surveillance footage in the fighting arena above, right? Of course there is. Send me the surveillance footage of the fight between Mu Qingchen and Li Yunzhou. Alright, I'll send it to you later. I have one more thing to ask of you. Last time when we went to the mass club, didn't we see a divine power realm pearl? 8 million. After fusing with it, you can strengthen your body and increase your strength. I don't have any money. Don't think about me. Yen Duo immediately shouted vigilantly on the phone. Just 8 million. Don't you still have 10 million? What are you talking about? I can't hear you. I'm going into the tunnel. The signal here isn't very good. Xia Pingan didn't care what Yen Duo shouted on the phone and continued. Just treat it as if you're lending me 8 million. Help me buy that divine power realm pearl. I'll return it to you when I earn money from the next mission. Otherwise, don't come looking for me if there's a money-making mission to find a demon spirit in the future. Xia Pingan then hung up the phone. Beep, 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 beep. In the room, Yen Duo heard the beeping sound from the phone. His eyes twitched as he scolded. You bastard, do you think that I, Yen Duo, am your assistant? So arrogant. You gave your sister the money you earned, but I want to lend you my money to buy the realm pearl. What kind of bullshit logic is this? Not only do you want to borrow money from me, but you also want me to work for you with this attitude. Isn't it just because you have a good dog? I don't care about a bastard who relies on a dog's power. Even without you, I can still accept missions to earn money. Are you still waiting for me to lend you 8 million to buy a realm pearl? I'll buy you a pile of shit. After Xia Pingan left the hospital, he met many summoners from the Demon Suppression Guard. The way these summoners looked at Xia Pingan was different from before. Mu Qingchen had already announced that she would accept Xia Pingan's challenge tomorrow. There were only a few demon-suppressing guardians, so the news quickly spread. Mu Qingchen did this to deliberately put Xia Pingan in a difficult position, unable to advance or retreat. Mu Qingchen was very popular in the summoner circle in Ijo. Xia Pingan hadn't been a summoner for a long time, so he didn't attract much attention among the summoners of the Ijo Demon Suppression Guard. Not many people knew about what he and Yen Duo had done before. In many people's eyes, whether Xia Pingan went on the stage tomorrow or not, Mu Qingchen was determined to slap their faces. In the old man's office, Mu Qingchen broke Li Yunzhou's arm in the arena today, and she has already announced that she will accept Xia Pingan's challenge tomorrow? The old man raised his eyes from behind his desk and looked at his assistant, Pan Lin, who had reported this to him. He frowned slightly. Pan Lin had a buzz-cut, dark skin and a body as straight as a javelin. He looked very capable. He was also one of the summoners in Izhou province, and also the old man's assistant and driver. The people from the Gao family are indeed too domineering. Mu Qingchen deliberately angered Li Yunzhou and forced Li Yunzhou to fight with her. Then she broke Li Yunzhou's arm, and now she wants to force Xia Pingan to go on the stage. She has nothing to fear. The grudge between Mu Qingchen and Xianghe City was a hot topic in the past, and everyone blamed each other. Mo Yanxiao and the others accused Mu Qingchen of trying to kill their colleague, Anqing, during the mission, while Mu Qingchen accused Anqing of betraying him and messing around with the summoner beside her. She even invited other men to beat him up. Because of this, Mu Qingchen and Xianghe City are like fire and water. Old man, you should know that this matter has already spread. If we step in to stop it, it will be difficult. If we don't stop it, Mu Qingchen will soon reach the first Yuan realm, and Xia Pingan will probably be hospitalized. At that time, the two summoners from Xianghe City's Committee of Order will be hospitalized. This will be difficult. The old man pondered for a moment. There's nothing difficult about it. Summoners aren't flowers that grow in a greenhouse. When two summoners fight fair and square in the ring, blood and injuries are inevitable. As long as no one dies, it's fine. This is the tradition of the Demon Suppression Guard. Even if they know they're going to lose, if a summoner doesn't even have the courage to fight in the ring, then they're still trash. I understand. Pan Lin nodded. Oh right, there's one more thing. Yen Duo just went to the surveillance room and copied a video of the arena. Oh, is that so? The old man's eyebrows twitched. Then for tomorrow's fight, I will go and take a look. Whether it's a dragon or a snake, we will know once we drag it out. Do you think there will be any suspense in tomorrow's fight between Xia Pingan and Yen Duo? Yen Duo's physical fitness should have completely surpassed Xia Pingan's. The old man smiled. When it comes to fighting, before there is a decisive gap between the two parties' physical fitness, if the disparity is not large, then there is no need to fight in the arena. Everyone just needs to take out their physical fitness test results, and the winner will be decided. Before Xia Pingan returned to his room, he received a call from Mo Yanxiao. Li Yunzhou's arm was broken by Mu Qingchen in the arena and he's hospitalized? Mo Yanxiao asked the moment he opened his mouth. The news spread pretty fast. I just came out of the hospital. Li Yunzhou is fine, but his arm will be in a sling for a few days. Xia Pingan replied. It seemed that this matter had caused quite a stir. You're still not Mu Qingchen's opponent. He has experienced the immortal strength enlightenment and has much more points than you. His physical fitness is far above yours. You don't have to fight tomorrow. I'm very sorry, I didn't expect you to be involved in that incident. Mo Yanxiao's voice sounded apologetic. However, behind his voice, Xia Pingan heard two Polus scolding. That bastard, I should have castrated him back then. I didn't expect that bastard to be so arrogant and dare to find trouble with us. I'm also a member of Xianghe City's Committee of Order. If I don't fight tomorrow, I won't be the only one who will lose face. Don't worry, at most, I'll just have my arm or leg broken. This is the Demon Suppression Guard. He won't dare to kill me. If I get injured, I'll go to the hospital to accompany Li Yunzhou. Xia Pingan said in an indifferent tone. Mo Yanxiao was silent for a while. You've been transferred to the Demon Suppression Guard. We can't interfere for the time being. Whether you fight or not, we'll support you. Don't worry, I'll take care of it, After hanging up the phone, Mo Yanxiao looked at the others in the office. Xia Pingan will fight tomorrow. I'm sorry, I've caused trouble for everyone. And Qing was also in the office. She was a little embarrassed. Little Qingqing, it's not your fault. It's that bastard Mu Qingchen who's gone too far. LV Na blew out a smoke ring and crushed the cigarette, but in her hand. Why don't we just find a chance to kill that bastard Mu Qingchen? I agree, Tupolu said directly. For a bastard, we'll all be involved and become wanted criminals by the Committee of Order. We'll all become fallen summoners. What kind of rotten idea is this? Let me make it clear first, don't count me in, Chen Yixing said while wiping his glasses. LV Na glared at Chen Yixing. Uncle, you're getting more and more timid. I'm not timid. I think that bastard's life is not worth more than mine. I still want to live peacefully until I get my retirement salary. We can't intervene in this matter now. The current Mu Qingchen is no longer the Mu Qingchen of the past. After fusing with the Treasure Realm Pearl, he can cast magic weapons. With the Gao family's support, he has gathered a lot of people who want to suck up to him. It won't be easy to touch him. I know that a summoner in Xianghe City is selling a Luo-Net Realm Pearl recently. Although the success rate of the Luo-Net Realm Pearl isn't high, even if it fails, you won't die. Fang Lingshan, who had been silent all this time, suddenly said, How about we buy that Realm Pearl and send it to Xia Pingan? If he fuses with it, he'll have another chance to be imbued with divine power. It should be a little helpful. Lingshan's idea is good. That's what I call helping. That bastard Mu Qingchen wants to slap my face this time. I'll pay for the Realm Pearl. This matter started because of me. I'm sorry to have involved everyone. I won't trouble you guys. I'll pay for it, Anqing said. Anqing, this is no longer your problem. It's the problem of the entire Special Operations Division. This time, Mu Qingchen wants to slap the entire Special Operations Division in the face. We can't just stand by and watch, Mo Yanxiao said. Then, he looked at Fang Lingshan. Lingshan, contact that summoner. We'll buy the Realm Pearl as soon as possible and send it to Xia Pingan by helicopter. We'll try to get it there before nightfall. The battle between Xia Pingan and Mu Qingchen had affected who knows how many people. 2 hours later, Yen Duo sent Xia Pingan a USB flash drive and a box containing the Realm Pearl with an ugly face. Thanks, Xia Pingan said with a smile. Don't thank me. Remember, these 5.8 million Realm Pearls are my hard-earned money. You have to give me interest. It's easier to die while fusing with this Realm Pearl. If you die while fusing with this Realm Pearl, I'll ask your sister for money. Yen Duo didn't drop the ball at the crucial moment. Chapter 73. As soon as Yen Duo left, Xia Pingan plugged the USB that Yen Duo had sent over into the computer. Very quickly, the computer displayed the image of the fighting arena. There were dozens of arenas in the arena, as well as various fighting training facilities. The fights in each arena were in full swing. This is the surveillance footage of Mu Qingchen and Li Yunzhou's fight in the arena, Xia Pingan muttered to himself. The surveillance footage was very clear. From the surveillance footage, it could be seen that Li Yunzhou was wearing protective gear and fighting with another person in the arena. Both of them were very restrained, and they were exchanging fighting experience. But then, Mu Qingchen brought 2 people to the training ground. After seeing Li Yunzhou, she directly jumped into the arena. After saying a few words to Li Yunzhou, it seemed that she had angered Li Yunzhou. Li Yunzhou took off his protective gear and fell into the arena. Mu Qingchen also went into the arena and began to take off her clothes. A lot of people gathered around to watch the show. After a few minutes, both of them began to fight in the arena. This time, the fight was much fiercer. Both of them were fast, accurate, and ruthless. It was like a life-and-death fight. Li Yunzhou wasn't weak among the summoners of the Xianghe Committee of Order. Xia Pingan had seen Li Yunzhou's skills, but compared to Mu Qingchen, Li Yunzhou couldn't hold on for long. Mu Qingchen's strength was too great, especially her sweeping leg. The power of that leg was at least 1,300 kilograms. Li Yunzhou defended a few times and received a few blows. His rhythm was disrupted by Mu Qingchen's attack. In addition to the strength of her legs, Mu Qingchen's physical fitness, whether it was speed or reaction, was better than Li Yunzhou. This was the physical advantage brought about by the divine power infusion. Unless one was born with divine power like Tupolu, the difference in the divine power value would indirectly reflect the difference in the physical attributes of the two parties for ordinary summoners. After a few minutes, Li Yunzhou's arm was broken by Mu Qingchen's kick. He rolled down from the arena and fell heavily to the ground. The fight was over. After watching the surveillance footage, Xia Pingan knew why Mu Qingchen was so arrogant. She indeed had the qualifications to be arrogant. Next, Xia Pingan slowed down the surveillance footage and watched it more than 10 times at a quarter of the speed. He watched Mu Qingchen's subconscious reaction to every attack, every change in her expression, the coordination of her muscles, standing posture, habitual movements, the use of strength, her usual attack patterns. After watching it more than 10 times, he watched it more than 10 times at twice the speed. After watching it, Xia Pingan closed his eyes and imagined an arena in his mind. It was him and Mu Qingchen on the arena. Xia Pingan sat quietly for half an hour as if he was meditating. Half an hour later, Xia Pingan opened his eyes with a smile on his face. Soon after, he brought the divine power realm pearl that Yen Duo had given him, the one that Han Yong pretended to be deaf, to the cultivation room. After pricking his finger and dripping blood, Xia Pingan quickly turned into a cocoon of light and entered the world of the realm pearl. Xia Pingan opened his eyes and found himself in a study. There was a sandalwood incense burning in the study, and there were a few peach blossoms outside the study. There was a cup of tea on the table in front of him, and he was holding a volume of Duke Ouyang Wenzhong in his hand. He looked down and saw that he was wearing an official's robe and boot. His current identity was undoubtedly Han Yong. King Ning's brother should be coming. Just as this thought flashed through Xia Pingan's mind, the sound of footsteps came from outside the study. Reporting to Your Excellency, King Ning's brother, King Yang Zhudianqin, has suddenly come to visit and wishes to see Your Excellency. The discord between King Ning and King Zhudianpei had spread throughout Jiangxi. King Yang Zhudianqin was born of a concubine and had always hated King Ning. As the right imperial censor of the imperial censorate, King Yang Zhudianqin's visit was definitely not a good thing. Xia Pingan actually admired Han Yong's reaction back then. Although this bead looked peaceful, it was actually filled with killing intent. Those who had failed to merge with the bead and died might not have imagined that the scene of this bead being trapped in the quagmire by the two saber-toothed tigers was even more dangerous than the scene of Yu Chao clan's bead being trapped by the two saber-toothed tigers. King Ning and the imperial family were the most dangerous tigers in the world. The dangers of officialdom, swords, and death traps were invisible. It was even more dangerous than the primordial forests of ancient times. Tell King Yang that this official is not feeling well and is unable to receive guests. Xia Pingan said. Yes, sir. Xia Pingan continued to read in the study, but a few minutes later, his subordinate returned. Reporting to Your Excellency, King Yang is still in the drawing room. He said that he won't leave until he sees Your Excellency today and will sleep in the drawing room tonight. Damn, there really weren't many good people among Zhu Yuanzhang's descendants. Tell King Yang that this official will arrive after changing my clothes. Xia Pingan could only say so. After waiting in the study for a while, Xia Pingan called over his trusted subordinate and had him make the necessary preparations. Then, he slowly walked into the drawing room. A man with a thin face and a domineering aura was in the drawing room, pacing back and forth impatiently. When he saw Xia Pingan arrive, The man walked over with large strides. Han Yong greets King Yang. Xia Pingan bowed to the man. The man aggressively sized up Xia Pingan from head to toe and said angrily, "I don't know where your excellency is feeling unwell, but even this king is missing. Please forgive me, King Yang. Recently, I've been feeling dizzy and my ears are ringing, so I can't hear what others are saying. When King Yang speaks to me, my ears are buzzing and I can't hear clearly. Han Yong is afraid of offending your highness, so I don't dare to come out and meet guests." King Yang sized up Xia Pingan and snorted. "This king knows a few famous doctors. I'll have them diagnose your excellency some other day." "Ah, what did your highness say? I can't hear you clearly. Could King Yang speak a little louder?" Xia Pingan purposely raised his voice to King Yang. King Yang had no choice but to say it again. "Many thanks, many thanks." Xia Pingan cupped his hands and invited King Yang to sit down and enjoy the tea. The two chatted loudly for less than 2 minutes about Jiangxi's scenery before King Yang felt exhausted. He had to say a sentence 2 or 3 times in a loud voice before Xia Pingan could barely understand it. It was too tiring. King Yang, who didn't have much patience to begin with, couldn't be bothered to be long-winded. He suddenly said loudly, "To tell you the truth, this king came to find your excellency because I have something important to tell you." "Ah, what does Prince Yang have to say?" "The Ning prince wants to rebel." "What? What did you say, King Yang? Who's going to beg for food?" Xia Pingan asked while digging his ears. "It's not anyone who's going to beg for food. I said, the Ning prince wants to rebel." King Yang stared intently at Xia Pingan and said in a louder voice, "Your excellency is touring Jiangxi. Could it be that you don't care about this matter?" Xia Pingan turned pale with fright. "What?" King Yang said. The Ning prince wants to rebel?" "That's right. This is no child's play. King Yang, please don't joke around." "Who's joking around? Now that you know about this matter, do you want to submit a memorial to the court?" "There's no evidence, so how can I submit a memorial?" King Yang rambled on for several minutes about how the Ning prince's estate had a dragon robe and a dragon chair, how he was raising loyalists, stockpiling armor and weapons, and bribing officials. King Yang spoke too quickly, so I didn't hear you clearly. Could you repeat yourself?" The Prince of Yang repeated himself. "I still didn't hear you clearly. King Yang just said that the Ning prince's estate is raising a dragon. Isn't this too shocking? Who in the court would believe it?" King Yang lost his patience. "I didn't say that the Ning prince's estate is raising a dragon. I said that the Ning prince's estate has a dragon robe and a dragon chair. The Ning prince considers himself a true dragon and wants to rebel." "What? The Ning prince is also deaf? Do you want His Majesty to send an imperial physician?" King Yang's eyes were burning with anger. He slammed the table and stood up. "Are you listening to me?" Xia Pingan hurriedly stood up to apologize. "Please calm down, King Yang. I already said that I'm deaf and couldn't hear you clearly. Why don't you write down what you wanted to say so that I can read it? Bring me a brush and ink. I'll write it down for you." King Yang rolled up his sleeves and said directly, "Men, prepare the brush and ink." Xia Pingan said loudly. Upon hearing Xia Pingan's words, someone carried a table into the living room. There was already a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone on the table. However, it was different from an ordinary table. It was a white wooden table. Chapter 74. The Prince of Yang was in a hurry to write down all of Prince Ning's crimes, so he didn't notice what kind of table it was. When he saw that the brush and ink had been brought over, he picked up the brush and wrote down all of Prince Ning's crimes on the table. After drying the paper, he handed it to Xia Pingan. "Official Han, you can see it clearly now. Prince Ning is about to rebel." Xia Pingan took the list of crimes and read it over. He immediately said with a serious expression, "It is as Prince of Yang said. This official will definitely report Prince Ning's rebellion to the imperial court." Hearing that Xia Pingan was going to report to the imperial court, Prince of Yang was finally satisfied. He nodded and stood up. "Okay, then this prince will wait for your news." After saying this, Prince of Yang left. Xia Pingan shook his head as he watched Zhu Dianxin leave, and then looked at the complaint against King Ning that Zhu Dianxin had personally written. The Prince of Yang, Zhu Diansu, probably didn't know that he was now falsely accusing the Prince of Ning, Zhu Dianpei, of plotting a rebellion and trying to kill the Prince of Ning. Later, when the court sent an imperial envoy to investigate, he swayed left and right. After eating some benefits from the Prince of Ning, his relationship with the Prince of Ning eased, and he flatly denied that he had ever accused the Prince of Ning. In an instant, he had pushed Han Yong onto the fire, and almost made Han Yong guilty of sowing discord and falsely accusing a prince. However, 10 years later, in the 5th year of Emperor Ingzong's reign, he would be caught by eunuch Lu Gao and falsely accused of adultery. In the end, both mother and son would be executed by Emperor Ingzong. In 10 years, the great Ming imperial court remained the same, but the people had changed. The prince who once wanted to falsely accuse someone else was falsely accused and killed. Wicked people would be punished by wicked people. In the end, Prince of Yang became the first prince in the great Ming dynasty to die at the hands of a eunuch. The law of cause and effect in history was sometimes this dramatic. Don't say that the heavens are blind. Those who harm others end up harming themselves. Han Yong can pretend to be deaf, but how can the heavens be blind? Xia Pingan softly said with emotion. Your Excellency, if we investigate Prince Ning's rebellion, it will be a great merit. Han Yong's advisor immediately entered the drawing room from the side door. The advisor had been outside the door the entire time, and now he had an excited expression. A great merit? Xia Pingan shook his head as he said, Lord Yang's complaint might be a soul-sucking white silk and deadly poisonous wine. I didn't want to meet Lord Yang because I was afraid that he would cause trouble. Now that it has happened, I can't avoid it. Why do you say that, sir? What is your Majesty's surname? Zhu. What's Prince Ning's surname? Zhu. What's my surname? My lord's surname is naturally Han. The tactician immediately understood, and his expression changed slightly. Sir, you're worried. How many of the foreign officials who got involved in the affairs of the royal family had a good ending? Regardless of whether King Ning wanted to rebel or not, King Ning's younger brother reported his elder brother. King Ning and his brother were not on good terms. As a foreign official, I got involved and exposed the scandal of the royal family. How could there be a good ending? Then we'll leave Prince Yang's complaint behind. How many brains do I have? I even dared to withhold the news of King Ning's rebellion and not report it to the court. Xia Pingan had someone put away Prince Yang's complaint and the table on which it had been written. He then wrote a memorial that very night and reported it to the court. Everything was as Xia Pingan had predicted. The nonsense happened in the next 2 months. The court received Han Yong's memorial and sent an imperial envoy to Jiangxi to investigate the Ning prince's rebellion. However, when the imperial envoy arrived in Jiangxi, he saw that the Prince of Yang, Zhu Diansu, and the Ning prince, Zhu Dianpei, had already reconciled. The two brothers were drinking together again. Prince Yang refused to admit that he had reported King Ning for rebellion, nor did he admit that he had sought out Han Yong. Instead, he said that Han Yong had framed him and King Ning to drive a wedge between them. With Prince Yang's falling out, Han Yong had 1 foot in the gates of hell. The imperial envoy returned to the capital to report. The emperor was furious and sent out an imperial envoy again. However, this time, the imperial envoy was sent to capture Han Yong. His crime was to drive a wedge between two princes. This was a fatal crime. When the imperial envoy, who had come to capture Han Yong, led a group of brocade guards to Han Yong's manor in an aggressive manner, Han Yong calmly took out the complaint that the Prince of Yang Zhu Dianqin had written and showed it to the imperial envoy. The handwriting on the complaint can be forged. If Sir Han has any business, wait until you reach the prison in the capital, the imperial envoy said calmly after looking at the complaint. The handwriting on the complaint can indeed be forged, but there is one thing that cannot be forged. What is it? The imperial envoy asked curiously. Han Yong had someone bring out the white wooden table Prince Yang had used to write the complaint and showed it to the imperial envoy. This is the table Prince Yang used to write the complaint. I have carefully kept it. Sir, you will know when you see it. The imperial envoy looked at the white wooden table and saw that the ink marks on the table were exactly the same as the handwriting on the complaint. There was no modification. This meant that the complaint had been written on this white wooden table. If the handwriting on the complaint was forged, it would be difficult for the forger to completely copy Prince Yang's handwriting in one go. They would have to touch it up. Then, the ink marks left on the table would be different. The imperial envoy still wanted face. He could not do something that turned black and white upside down. He knew that Han Yong had been framed. In the end, he only took the Prince Yang's complaint and the white wooden table back to the capital to report. The emperor looked at the complaint and the white wooden table and was speechless. This was a mess between the descendants of the Zhu family. It was not right to investigate an official of the court because of this. Thus, the emperor did not pursue Han Yong's crime. Additionally, the Prince of Ning also did not want to pursue the matter, so the matter was left unsettled. Han Yong faced a great calamity. In the end, he relied on the white wooden table he had cunningly prepared to escape. The world of the world bead shattered in the blink of an eye. Xia Pinggan's consciousness once again returned to his secret mandala. In the sky above the caisson in the mandala, there was an additional 30 points of divine power. The righteous dog Black Dragon had increased the upper limit of the divine power in the Xia Ping and secret mandala to 115 points. At this moment, with the addition of these 30 points of divine power, the upper limit of the divine power in the Xia Ping and secret mandala had reached 145 points. On one of the walls in the secret mandala, there was an additional painting. On the left side of the painting was the scene of Han Yong pretending to be deaf in the living room and asking the Prince of Yang to write the complaint against the Prince of Ning on the white wooden table. On the right side of the painting was the scene of the Prince of Yang, Zhu Dianqin, and his mother being sentenced to death. The Prince of Yang, Zhu Dianqin, was given a cup of poisoned wine. His mother was given a strand of white silk. On the painting were 10 words. Han Yong can pretend to be deaf, but how can the heavens not have eyes? After Xia Pinggan had perfectly fused with the divinity realm bead and enjoyed the divine power pouring into his body, he opened his eyes in the secret room. It was only 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Xia Pinggan got up, his muscles, bones, and joints crackling. Previously, after watching the surveillance video, he had a 50% chance of winning. But now, with the enhancement of his physical fitness, his chance of winning had increased to 70%. Every time after fusing with the realm bead, his body would be very hungry and urgently needed to replenish his energy. Seeing that the world was almost done, Xia Pinggan went downstairs to the restaurant to eat. When he arrived at the restaurant, Xia Pinggan received even more attention. Everyone in the Demon Suppression Guard should know that most of the gazes looking at Xia Pinggan were sympathetic. A rookie who had just become a summoner and a person like Mu Qingchen, the result was obvious. Mu Qingchen also came. When he saw Xia Pinggan, he deliberately came to Xia Pinggan's side and looked down at him with a sinister smile. Eat more today. Tomorrow, it's hard to say if you can still eat like this. You eat more too. Xia Pinggan smiled. It's useless to be stubborn. I hope you can last longer than Li Yunzhou tomorrow. Mu Qingchen glanced at Xia Pingan and then left. Xia Pingan's table was empty. No one came to sit down. The others here were not familiar with Xia Pingan. At this time, no one was willing to sit down with Xia Pingan to eat together, lest Mu Qingchen misunderstood. It was not worthwhile to offend a forging master with a big family background for no reason. In the restaurant, Xia Pingan sat alone at a table, which was somewhat eye-catching. After a while, the white-haired Yen Duo also came. When he saw Xia Pingan, he unscrupulously carried a plate of food and sat down opposite Xia Pingan. His eyes looked at Xia Pingan's body twice, then he slightly sucked in a breath of cold air and whispered, "It's done?" Xia Pingan smiled and nodded. Yen Duo was speechless. He originally thought that Xia Pingan's success rate of fusing with the God Power Realm bead would not be high. It would be good if he could survive. He did not expect that Xia Pingan would succeed. His luck was too good. Just as he finished eating and walked out of the restaurant, Xia Pingan's phone rang. He took out his phone and saw that it was Mo Yenshao calling. "Go to the helipad. We've sent you a Luonet Realm bead. You won't die even if you fail to fuse with the Luonet Realm bead. If you succeed, you can summon the Luonet Realm bead and have a chance to use God Power infusion. It will be helpful for you in the arena tomorrow." Xia Pingan did not expect that Mo Yenshao would send him a realm bead. This was really timely help. "Director, whose realm bead is this? Everyone pooled their money to buy it for you. This is a matter of the entire Special Operations Division. You just have to perform well on the stage tomorrow. Don't feel any pressure." Mu Qingchen was picking on him and he was being treated like this? Xia Pingan's mood suddenly became much better. He arrived at the helipad of the provincial department and saw that a helicopter from the Xianghe City Committee of Order was already parked there. The somewhat familiar pilot asked Xia Pingan to sign for a small package. He did not stop for a moment and directly flew the helicopter back to Xianghe City. Xia Pingan returned to his residence with the small package. He opened the package and saw a box inside. He opened the box and saw a resplendent realm bead lying inside. There were 4 God words on the realm bead. Net opens on 3 sides. So this was the realm bead that summoned the Luonet realm bead? Not long ago, he was still a slave under King Zhou of Shang. He did not expect that in the blink of an eye, he would become King Zhou of Shang's ancestor. Interesting. Chapter 75. Xia Pingan sat on the carriage. Pulling the carriage were 4 horses of the same color. A group of bodyguards followed behind him. The bodyguards held the banner with the word Shang in their hands, looking awe-inspiring. Because it was an outing, the carriage moved slowly on the road. They were in the suburbs, surrounded by forests and fertile fields. The scenery was pleasant. This was the scene Xia Pingan saw when he opened his eyes. In less than 2 minutes, Xia Pingan saw someone on the side of the road catching birds with a net. Xia Pingan ordered the carriage to stop and then walked towards the birdcatcher. In the wilderness there were 4 large nets in the north, south, east, and west. When Xia Pingan walked over, the birdcatcher was still kneeling on the ground with his eyes closed and praying before catching bird. He hoped that the gods would help and make all the birds fall into his net. When the birdcatcher finished praying and opened his eyes, he found Xia Pingan and a team of bodyguards in front of him. When the birdcatcher saw Xia Pingan and the bodyguards around him, he recognized Xia Pingan's identity. He was so scared that he quickly saluted Xia Pingan. "Greetings, Marquis Tang. What are you doing here?" Xia Pingan asked. The birdcatcher was so nervous that he swallowed a mouthful of saliva, reporting to Marquis Tang, "I am catching birds. I heard you praying just now. Are you hoping that all the birds in the world will fall into your net?" "Yes." Xia Pingan looked at the 4 large nets in the wilderness. "You have set up 4 nets in the wilderness. No matter which direction the birds in the wilderness fly, they will fall into your net. You prayed to catch all the birds in the world and set up the nets in the 4 directions. Even if they are beasts, we can't kill them all. This is against the harmony of the heavens. I don't dare to disobey Marquis Tang's orders. However, if I don't catch birds, how can I live? Won't I starve to death? The bird catcher said. When you catch birds in the future, you can't cast the net on all sides. You can only cast the net on one side. You have to leave 3 sides for the birds. When you pray, you should tell the birds that if they want to fly to the left, they can fly to the left. If they want to fly to the right, they can fly to the right. You have left 3 sides for them. If they are tired of their lives, they can fly into my net. After hearing Xia Pinggan's words, the bird catcher sincerely admired him and immediately removed 3 nets, leaving only 1 net. Only 1 net. After seeing the birdcatcher remove the net on 3 sides, Xia Pinggan said to the attendant beside him, "Pass down my order. In the future, all birdcatchers in the Shang nation can only cast the net on 1 side. They can't cast it on all sides. They have to leave 3 sides for the birds. Even if they are beasts, they can't be ruthless." Xia Pinggan Tang. In the secret chamber, Xia Pinggan opened his eyes. He glanced at the time. Damn, it took less than 10 minutes for him to finish fusing with this realm pearl. It was too fast. In the shrine of his secret mandala, there was another pure gold relief sculpture. The relief sculpture depicted the story of the 3 sides of the Shang Tang net. The big net on the relief sculpture was sparkling. It was the summoning position of the net. In the sky above the temple, the divine power increased by 15 points. The upper limit of divine power reached 160 points. The fusion of this realm pearl was too easy. As long as one knew the story, fusing with it was like going on an excursion. Although the matter of opening 3 sides of the net was a small matter, it had a great impact on the Shang Tang. According to the historical records, after the order of opening 3 sides of the net was spread, the surrounding vassals all sighed. Shang Tang is virtuous as for beasts. Therefore, one by one, the vassals joined the Shang Tang and finally, Shang Tang won the world. The Shang dynasty's 31 emperors began with Soup and ended with Zhou. From opening 3 sides of the net to the final blow, the fate of the dynasty and the reincarnation of history made people sigh. The next morning, Xia Pinggan came to the combat training ground. The training ground was already packed with people. Almost all of the demon suppression guards in Yi province had come. No one wanted to miss the good show today. Seeing Xia Pinggan walk to the training ground, many people looked at Xia Pinggan with sympathy. No matter what, Xia Pinggan had become famous in the demon suppression guards today. Before this, not many people knew who Xia Pinggan was. Now, everyone knew that this Xia Pinggan was a member of the Xianghe Committee of Orders, Special Operations Division, and was challenged by Mu Qingchen. All of the summoners present had heard of the grudge between Mu Qingchen and the Xianghe Committee of Orders, Special Operations Division. Today, Xia Pinggan had become the target of Mu Qingchen's face-slapping. Mu Qingchen is trying to regain the face he lost to Mo Yanxiao and Tu Polu back then. A summoner in the crowd whispered. "Isn't this a bit too much? He should go find Tu Polu. Do you think he doesn't want to?" In a few days, Mu Qingchen will probably find a chance to beat up all the summoners in Xianghe City's Order Committee. He's building momentum now. Once the momentum is enough, Tu Polu and Mo Yan will have fewer people. They can't be cowards. It's impossible for them not to fight him. I heard that the Gao family has already prepared a pile of realm pearls for him. He can slowly earn enough money to buy a pile of realm pearls just by selling magic tools. The surrounding summoners were whispering, and Xia Pinggan heard it all. Mu Qingchen was already warming up in the center of the training ground. When he saw Xia Pinggan walking over, Mu Qingchen stopped his movements and glared at Xia Pinggan. Yanduo came over and said, "Don't worry, go on stage. I will watch from the side. With so many people here, he won't dare to kill you." Whether you break an arm or a leg depends on your luck. Even Yen Duo felt that Xia Pingan was looking for a beating. If they used weapons, Xia Pingan's whip was absolutely terrifying. Yen Duo had absolute confidence in Xia Pingan. However, if it was bare-handed combat, Yen Duo still felt that Mu Qianchen was more experienced and valiant. Under everyone's gaze, Xia Pingan came to the center of the training ground and gently flipped onto the stage. There was a commotion in the crowd. Xia Pingan looked towards the entrance and saw that the old man had also come. When the onlookers saw that the old man had also come, they all made way for him. The old man went straight to the seat next to the ring and sat down. He said to the two people on the ring, "Since it's so lively, I'm just here to watch. You don't have to worry about me." Although summoners have all kinds of summoning skills and spells, bare-handed combat has always been a necessary skill for summoners. Summoners don't lack courage. Today's rules are the same as yesterday's. Fight on the ring, bare-handed combat, as long as no one dies. Since the old master has said so, then I'll respectfully accept. Mu Qianchen slightly bowed to the old man on the stage and then looked at Xia Pingan with cold eyes. "Don't say that I bullied you later. Old man, I just came and haven't warmed up yet. I need 10 minutes to warm up," Xia Pingan said to the old man. The old man looked at Xia Pingan with deep eyes. "Okay, let's start after 10 minutes of warming up." Xia Pingan didn't say anything. He just slightly nodded to the old man and started to take off his clothes. He took off his coat and threw it on the side of the stage. Mu Qianchen had already warmed up. At the corner of the stage, she stared at Xia Pingan and couldn't wait to pounce on him in the next second. Xia Pingan leisurely twisted his waist and lifted his legs to trot back and forth on the stage for a few laps. He didn't seem to be in a hurry at all. Seeing Xia Pingan jumping around in front of her eyes, Mu Qianchen suppressed her anger and waited for 10 minutes. However, she became somewhat impetuous. When 10 minutes were up, the two people stood in the middle of the stage. They stood 2 meters apart and nodded to the old man. "Let's start." The old man slightly nodded. Hearing the old man's order, Mu Qianchen's eyes flashed sharply. Seeing Xia Pingan leaning back, as if he wanted to keep a distance from him, Mu Qianchen didn't hesitate at all. He took a step forward and roared. Twisting his waist, he directly kicked towards Xia Pingan's head with his right leg like a whip. What exceeded everyone's expectations was Xia Pingan. Just as Mu Qianchen was about to kick, Xia Pingan, who was leaning back to dodge, suddenly stomped on the ground. The force from his foot was transmitted to his body, and he took a step forward at lightning speed. He cut into Mu Qianchen's circle, and closed the distance between him and Mu Qianchen. Xia Pingan's elbows were facing outwards. Protecting his head, he avoided the most lethal part of Mu Qianchen's foot and cut into the part above Mu Qianchen's calf. The part above the calf was often used to hit people in actual combat. Due to the principle of leverage, the strength of the kick would be greatly reduced. While Xia Pingan forcibly blocked Mu Qianchen's whip kick, his right foot fiercely dug out from the ground and kicked towards the side of Mu Qianchen's left knee joint. Mu Qianchen's kick was blocked by Xia Pingan's hands. However, Mu Qianchen didn't even have time to react to Xia Pingan's kick. Because it was too fast, it was as if both sides had agreed to use this move at the same time. It was as if Mu Qianchen had rushed forward on her own accord. Gotcha! The side of Mu Qianchen's left knee was directly broken by Xia Pingan's kick. His left kneecap was exposed, and his left calf was twisted inwards. Mu Qianchen's entire face was distorted. His body tilted to the side, and he let out a miserable scream. Before he fell, Xia Pingan turned around and sent out a second roundhouse kick, directly kicking the side of Mu Qianchen's face. Mu Qianchen's face was completely deformed. Mu Qianchen's braces and 7 or 8 teeth directly spat out of his mouth. His whole body spun 720 degrees in the air and was kicked off the stage by Xia Pingan. He fell heavily to the ground outside the stage and fainted. The match had only started for a second. Both sides had only exchanged one move, and the winner had been decided in an instant. The people below the stage all looked at each other in dismay. They couldn't believe that this fight would end like this. There was no fierce battle, no back and forth. The one who was beaten was actually Mu Qingchen. Chapter 76. Yenduo was also dumbfounded. He looked at Mu Qingchen, who was lying on the ground, and rubbed his eyes. Just now, in the blink of an eye, it was as if Mu Qingchen and Xia Pingan had practiced together hundreds of times. It was 2F** king straightforward. Xia Pingan took a step forward at the same time, his hands covering his head as he kicked out. He had practiced both offense and defense countless times. When he received Mu Qingchen's ferocious kick, he instantly heavily injured Mu Qingchen. Xia Pingan's move was the perfect solution to Mu Qingchen's attack. Even if he was on the stage, he wouldn't be able to defeat Mu Qingchen so easily. Could it be that the two of them had discussed this beforehand? Yenduo couldn't help but suspect. Just by glancing at Mu Qingchen's leg, who was lying unconscious on the ground, Yenduo couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine. It was hard to say whether Mu Qingchen's face was disfigured or not, but his left leg was definitely crippled. He didn't know when it would recover. If it wasn't discussed beforehand, then unless Xia Pingan had predicted that Mu Qingchen would use this move and had already thought of a way to deal with it. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to defeat Mu Qingchen so easily and perfectly. The entire training ground was silent. No one had thought that this fight would end like this. As soon as the fight started, the outcome was decided in just 1 second. If it had been a real life and death fight, Mu Qingchen would have been dead by now. Xia Pingan's kick to his face was aimed at the back of his ear or temple. If he had used a bit more strength, his head would have exploded, or his cervical vertebra would have been broken. It wouldn't have been as simple as losing a few teeth. Mu Qingchen's leg was crippled by Xia Pingan in one move. He was seriously injured and fell unconscious on the ground. F***ck, Xia Pingan was the real ruthless one. At this time, the other summoners of the Demon Suppression Guard looked at Xia Pingan in a different light. Send the injured to the hospital. The old man's voice sounded calmly, and only then did everyone in the room come to their senses. After saying this, the old man stood up and took a deep look at Xia Pingan in the ring. Without saying anything else, he turned around and left the training ground. Xia Pingan also put on his clothes and calmly left the training ground. Under the gazes of the crowd, he continued downstairs to carry out his 400-meter military obstacle course. Only 2 minutes later, in Mo Yenshao's office of the Xianghe City Committee of Order, everyone looked at each other. Everyone was waiting for the news here, and they were all on tenterhooks. However, the news that they received made everyone dumbfounded. They thought that they had misheard. It wasn't until Mo Yenshao asked someone to send over the surveillance video of the match that everyone believed it was true. The match ended in only 1 second. Mu Qingchen broke his left leg and lost many teeth. He was directly kicked out of the ring by Xia Pingan and sent to the provincial hospital to accompany Li Yunzhou. Xia Pingan was not injured at all. That lightning-fast strike determined the winner in an instant. Ha ha ha, I knew that kid wouldn't let us down. Tu Polu was the first to laugh wildly. He was so happy that he slapped his thigh. It seems that the realm pearl we sent yesterday worked. It shouldn't be. Mu Qingchen is not a rookie. How could he be seriously injured by Xia Pingan in the ring in one move? Chen Yixing was also stunned. This move, maybe. It was a coincidence. Xia Pingan's response was too perfect. An Qing's expression became strange. Who cares? It can't be that Mu Qingchen used his own leg to put on an act. Who would allow him to abuse himself like that? Tu Polu said casually, let's see how this brat Mu Qingchen can still be so rampant in the future. Xia Pingon trained in the field for an entire morning. When he went to eat lunch, he realized that everyone in the Demon Suppression Guard was avoiding him as if he was the plague. The place where he sat was empty. Other than Yen Duo, no one dared to sit near him. Almost everyone kept a distance from Xia Pingon. No one greeted him. They only looked at him from afar. Although you won this time, Mu Qingchen was seriously injured. Everyone knows that you offended Mu Qingchen and the Gao family. Naturally, you have to avoid arousing suspicion. As Yen Duo ate the sea cucumber in the canteen, he heartlessly lamented, "If I had known that you could win so easily, we would have set up a bet and become the banker. Then, we would have made a fortune." "Oh right, that move between you and him, it wasn't discussed beforehand, right?" "It was luck." Xia Pingon's expression didn't change. "I don't believe it." "It's up to you to believe it or not." Xia Pingon shrugged. "That's right." Mu Qingchen, that guy, immediately asked to be treated at the Gao family's intensive care hospital the moment he woke up in the hospital. He was sent away by helicopter just now. "I feel that he was afraid that you would do something else." Xia Pingon sighed in regret. He actually wanted to do something. That Mu Qingchen was so vengeful that it would be a disaster if he was left alive. In the morning, he couldn't kill him directly in the arena. He wanted to find another opportunity later. He didn't expect that Mu Qingchen would run away so quickly. He didn't dare to stay in the provincial base for even a second longer. At this moment, his phone continued to vibrate. Xia Pingon took out his phone and looked at it. There was a message asking him to go to the old man's office after dinner. After lunch, Xia Pingon went directly to the old master's office to report. When Xia Pingon entered the office, the old master was trimming a potted plant. After hearing Xia Pingon's report, the old master put down the scissors and watering can, turned around, and let Xia Pingon sit down. "The fight in the morning was very exciting. I really didn't expect that there would be a genius like you in our Demon Suppression Guard." The old master took a deep look at Xia Pingon. "This morning was a coincidence." Xia Pingon looked calm. "Coincidence?" The old man smiled. "Do you know how Einstein did experiments when he didn't have any experimental equipment?" Without waiting for Xia Pingon's reply, the old master pointed to his own head. Many of Einstein's scientific experiments were completed in his brain. His brain was his laboratory. He could complete many complicated experiments in his brain that couldn't be completed in the laboratory. Because his brain was so amazing, someone stole his brain for research after his death. Apart from Einstein, every time before boxing champion Mu Li went on the stage, he had already completed the fight with his opponent in his mind. Every time he went on the stage, he only completed the script in his mind. Therefore, no one could defeat him in the ring with their fists. The ancients of China called the ability to complete the deduction of reality in one's mind a divine performance. Today, Mu Qingchen didn't lose to you unjustly. Since the old master had said so, Xia Pingon neither admitted nor denied it. However, the old master's vision and ability made Xia Pingon secretly admire him. "Old master, you didn't ask me to come here just to praise me, did you?" Xia Pingon asked. The old man suddenly sighed. His eyes became deep. "If we had more time, I would have trained you to be the strongest summoner in Izhou province. You would have been able to reach my position in the future, or even go one step further. Your name would have shaken the world. You definitely have the qualifications. Your achievements would have been far greater than mine." "Old master, you're overpraising me." "I'm not exaggerating. You've only been in the Demon Suppression Guard for a few days, and you've already fused with 3 realm pearls. One of them is even a black box realm pearl, and the other 2 realm pearls aren't easy to fuse with, but you've succeeded. I haven't seen a summoner like you in a very, very long time. Right now, the upper limit of your divine force in the secret mandala has already reached 160 points. This number has already surpassed many people in the Demon Suppression Guard. You're a heaven-gifted genius, and your growth speed is extremely astonishing. Perhaps young Master Moyen's greatest contribution in the Order Committee was recruiting you to the Order Committee. Xia Pingan's heart fiercely tightened. How did the old master know? The old master gently waved his hand. Don't worry. I only have the ability to sense other people's divine power limit. In Ijo Province, if I don't even know where the realm beads sold among the summoners are flowing to, then my position as the chairman of the National Committee of Order of Ijo Province would be in vain. Old master, you're putting me under a lot of pressure. Why did you ask me to come here? Xia Pingan smiled bitterly. The old man looked at Xia Pingan with a deep and wise gaze. It's nothing. I just wanted to talk to you. You've seriously injured Mu Qinshan this time, so you have to pay more attention in the future. The power of a forging master who can forge artifacts sometimes surpasses your imagination. Mu Qinshan isn't just one person. Thank you for your reminder, old master. Well, it's fine. You can go now. Xia Pingan walked to the door and suddenly thought of something. He turned around and glanced at the old master. Old master, can I ask you a question? What question? Do you believe that the demon's eye said that the real holy arrival will come soon? Do you believe it? The old master asked. Xia Pingan nodded. I believe it too, and I've believed it a long time ago, the old master said with some emotion. Xia Pingan did not say anything else. He bowed slightly to the old master and left. After Xia Pingan left, the old master muttered to himself with infinite melancholy, "What a pity!" No one knew what the old master was feeling pity about. Chapter 77. Time was like sand in an hourglass, passing day by day. After the battle with Mu Qinshan in the arena, Xia Pingan's days in the provincial department began to calm down. There were no more troublemakers, and no one came to find trouble. Every day, he trained, read books, and occasionally called Xia Ning. As for Li Yunzhou, he was probably a little embarrassed. 2 days after the battle between Xia Pingan and Mu Qinshan in the arena, he returned to the hospital in Xianghe City to recuperate. After Li Yunzhou left, almost no one in the entire Demon Suppression Guard, except for He Duo, was willing to take the risk of making enemies and take the initiative to talk to Xia Pingan. This kind of life could be considered leisurely. June passed in the blink of an eye, and unknowingly, it was July. July was the day of the college entrance examination for the third-year high school students in the Fire Country. On the 6th, 7th, and 8th of July, the college entrance examination in the Fire Country attracted the attention of the world. Because the Ijo province had relaxed the standards for this year's college entrance examination, the number of students who were qualified to fuse with the Realm Pearl was twice as many as in previous years. This also became the biggest news in the Fire Country in July. In addition, starting from the end of June, all the cities in the Ijo province began to intensively hold various anti-space invasion exercises. The maneuver here was in full swing. From late June until July, there was a very strange phenomenon in the world. For almost a month, there was not a single incident of space invasion in all the countries in the world, not even the lowest level of H-class space invasion. Many media outlets were still cheering, thinking that this was a good sign. Xia Pingan felt more and more urgent and that something was wrong. The calmness in July, in Xia Pingan's view, was more like the negative pressure effect of a fire. In addition to the absence of space invasion, the demon eye, which was originally active frequently, suddenly quieted down after entering the end of June. In July, the demon eye was completely silent. This calmness was strange, and it was not a good thing. The entire Demon Suppression Guard of Ijo was on the alert as if they were facing a great enemy. On the 21st of July, extreme weather and geological disasters around the world began to increase sharply. More than a dozen volcanoes in Hawaii and the eastern part of the fire country began to erupt on this day, affecting tens of millions of people. In the south of Peru, floods and landslides inundated countless villages. Japan was hit by a tsunami, and many coastal cities were submerged. Many volcanoes erupted in Indonesia. Many countries in Europe were hit by rare tornadoes and polar storms. Earthquakes in India, floods broke out in the southeast of China. A rare locust plague broke out in the southern continent and Africa. After the 21st of July, the entire world seemed to have been set into vibration mode. 10 days later, on the 1st of August, all the moons seen around the world turned red from that day onwards. The red moon, regardless of whether it was in the east or the west, was an ominous sign, a symbol of evil. From the eastern point of view, the crimson moon represented the growth of evil energy, suppressing the righteous energy. That was why the crimson moon existed. From the western point of view, the crimson moon was the eye of the devil. When the crimson moon began to appear, panic around the world followed. The crimson moon lasted for 3 days. On the 4th of August, in the sky above the Eurasian continent, an unprecedented 300 kilometers wide and 7,200 kilometers long spatial rift suddenly appeared in the atmosphere 1,500 kilometers above the ground in just a few minutes. From the ground of many countries in the Eurasian continent, the huge rift caused by the spatial rift looked like the blood-red mouth of the devil in the sky. The most frightening thing was that the huge spatial crack was still wriggling, expanding, and becoming bigger. This kind of spatial rift had almost never appeared in human history. Everyone felt that something was wrong. From the 4th of August onwards, abnormal natural disasters and the appearance of the crimson moon and the huge spatial rift that lasted for many days spread across the world. Panic suddenly spread across the world, and many cities around the world experienced a panic-buying frenzy and riot. Paris became the most violent city in Europe. On the streets of Tokyo, the evil cult that preached the end of the world organized a mass demonstration of tens of thousands of people. In the end, the demonstration turned into a riot. The citizens of Cairo fought fiercely with the military police because of the panic buying of water and biological resources. The entire city was covered in smoke. The fire country was not spared. From the 8th of August onwards, many cities in the fire country experienced a huge riot because of the panic buying of daily necessities. The president of the fire country had no choice but to declare a state of emergency. Many cities began to implement curfews. For a time, all kinds of public security cases in the fire country began to surge. Everything happened so unexpectedly. From the 8th of August onwards, Xia Pingan, who had stayed in the provincial base for more than a month because of his remote vision ability, suddenly became busy. All kinds of missions came one after another. In the evening of the 14th of August, a gray Falcon helicopter flew quickly in the mountains southeast of Xinchuan City. Under the helicopter was a vast pine forest. Xia Pingan sat in the helicopter, leaning against the seat tiredly as he listened to a member of the special police team explain the situation to him. In the past few days, Xia Pingan had accepted 6 missions without stopping. He ran around all over Izhou province, participated in fire rescue, searched for members of the Demon Eyes organization, provided disaster relief, and dealt with 2 suspected cases of zombie virus infection. He only completed a mission at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and returned to the provincial base. Less than 2 hours after returning to the provincial base, he had only taken a hot shower and eaten half of his meal when a new mission came. This is an extremely dangerous person called Lin Kuan. He once served in the Marine Corps of the Fire Country. Some time ago, he was wanted for burglary of a rich man in Donghu province. On the way, he killed 11 people, including 7 police officers, and fled from Donghu province to Izhou province. He has automatic weapons, rich jungle survival and combat experience, and strong anti-tracking abilities. We have already lost 2 special forces in this forest, so we have to ask the Committee of Order for help," the captain of the special police team said as he took out a photo of Lin Kuan for Xia Pingan. In the photo, Lin Kuan had a buzz cut and was wearing a pair of sunglasses. He was dressed in a black singlet and camouflage army trousers, and the background was an aircraft carrier in the fire country. This photo should have been taken when Lin Kuan was still serving in the military. Xia Pingan took the photo and looked at it carefully. He told the member of the special police team, "Just drop us off at the place where he was last found." More than 20 minutes later, the Falcon helicopter dropped off Xia Pingan and 3 soldiers from the Committee of Order's Quick Reaction Unit in an open space in the forest. The 3 soldiers were here to cooperate with Xia Pingan to search for Lin Kuan. According to the plan, Xia Pingan only needed to lock onto Lin Kuan's position with his remote vision ability and command the 3 soldiers to kill Lin Kuan. Then, the mission would be completed. For a summoner with remote vision ability, this mission was actually a piece of cake. It only took a bit of effort. The helicopter flew away in the blink of an eye. Xia Pingan took out his mobile phone and looked at it. There was no signal here at all. However, the 3 soldiers from the Quick Reaction Unit were carrying a satellite phone. At this moment, the sun was about to set. In the west of the forest, the remaining rays of the sun were moving little by little towards the mountain peak in the east. "My name is Xia Pingan. I hope we have a pleasant cooperation." The 3 soldiers from the Quick Reaction Unit were new faces to Xia Pingan. They were temporarily assigned to the task. He only saw them when he boarded the helicopter. They were also from the Quick Reaction Unit under the Committee of Order. "My name is Guojun. This is Su Xiaochang. This is Li Jinming." The one called Guojun introduced himself and his 2 companions to Xia Pingan. Guojun smiled and seemed very enthusiastic. "I am the team leader of the 3-person combat unit. I am very happy to cooperate with you this time." The other 2 also smiled at Xia Pingan. Looking at the smiles of the other 2, Xia Pingan's eyes narrowed slightly, but his expression remained unchanged. "After finding the target, I will try not to put you in danger. If necessary, you can decide on your own combat plan. It doesn't matter. We believe in you." Guojun smiled enthusiastically and looked around. "Now, which direction should we search?" "Wait a moment, I can use the summoned creature to track," Xia Pingan said with a smile. He didn't do anything, just stomped his feet, and the black dragon came out of Xia Pingan's shadow. Woof woof. The black dragon was also summoned. In an instant, it showed hostility to the 3 people. It bared its teeth, lay on the ground with its forelimbs, and barked at the 3 people. Seeing Xia Pingan summon the strong black dragon in the blink of an eye, Guojun and the other 2 were shocked. They each took a step back and exchanged glances. "Don't be afraid. This is my summoned creature. It can track people by smell and the smell of blood in the air like a hound." Xia Pingan looked at the expressions of the 3 people and smiled. "We just need to follow the black dragon." "Black dragon, lead the way." The black dragon growled in a low voice, but still turned around and went into the forest. "Follow me." Su Xiaochang and Li Jinming followed behind the black dragon into the forest. Guojun smiled enthusiastically at Xia Pingan and stood beside Xia Pingan. "You're a summoner. Nothing can happen to you. I'll protect you from behind." "You're right." Xia Pingan smiled and followed Su Xiaochang and Li Jinming into the forest. Guojun followed behind Xia Pingan. They were deep in the mountains. There were no signs of human habitation in the forest. There were towering trees all around them. It was possible that no one had set foot in this place for decades. The ground was littered with rotting pine needles and fallen pine cones left behind over the years. Less than 5 minutes after entering the forest, Guojun, who was following behind Xia Pingan, sized up the surrounding environment. The way he looked at Xia Pingan slowly became eerily cold. He quietly raised the muzzle in his hand. Just as Guojun's muzzle was pointed at Xia Pingan's back, his finger quietly placed on the trigger. The moment his eyes flashed with murderous intent, Xia Pingan, who was walking in front, suddenly swayed and turned around to face Guojun. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes. Guojun was shocked and instinctively wanted to pull the trigger. However, Xia Pingan's hand quickly brushed past the locking mechanism of the assault rifle in his hand. When Guojun pulled the trigger, he couldn't pull it down. At the same time, Guojun's neck artery was directly cut open by Xia Pingan's dagger. Blood spurted out. The black dragon leading the way turned around and pounced at almost the same time. Su Shaochang, who was following behind the black dragon, didn't have time to react before he was pushed to the ground by the black dragon. The black dragon directly bit his throat, tearing it apart. Li Jinming suddenly turned around and wanted to shoot behind him with his gun. Xia Pingan threw the dagger in his hand at him. The dagger directly entered Li Jinming's right eye socket and entered his brain. Outside the eye socket, only the handle of the dagger was left. In the blink of an eye, the three people fell. Xia Pingan was unscathed. The black dragon was still biting Su Shaochang's throat. Xia Pingan quickly removed the silent pistol from Guojun's leg and kicked away the assault rifle in Guojun's hand. He walked to the front and shot twice at Su Shaochang's head, who was still struggling on the ground. The silent pistol made two muffled sounds and two bloody holes appeared on Su Shaochang's head. The black dragon finally released its bite on Su Shaochang's neck. After another shot to Li Jinming's head, Xia Pingan finally took the gun and walked with the black dragon to Guojun, who was lying on the ground. The black muzzle was pointed at Guojun, who was lying on the ground. Guojun was covered in blood. His hands futilely covered the wound on his neck. His eyes stared at Xia Pingan in fear and helplessness. "Who sent you?" Xia Pingan asked, shooting Guojun's knee. The bullet exploded into a ball of blood. Guojun's body trembled and he shouted, It's Mu Qianchen. He told us that after this we will each get 10 million, and we will also be taken care of by the Gao family, and we will be promoted and rich." From the moment the black dragon was summoned and barked at the three people, Xia Pingan was certain that the three people wanted to kill him. He had already guessed some things in his heart. Xia Pingan pursed his lips. This answer wasn't out of his expectations. That trash Mu Qianchen couldn't help but start playing dirty. The silent pistol made another sound and a bullet entered Guojun's head. The three people on the ground were completely motionless. Looking at the three corpses on the ground, Xia Pingan's eyes moved and looked into the distance of the forest. In the next second, Xia Pingan took the black dragon and quickly left the place, disappearing into the forest. Half an hour later, two vigorous figures flew over from the forest. The two of them looked at the three corpses on the ground and one of them cursed, "What trash!" Chase. The two of them looked at each other and waved their hands. One of them summoned 4 slave soldiers and the other summoned a tiger. The tiger sniffed the ground and directly chased after Xia Pingan. The 4 slave soldiers followed behind and the two of them chased after the 4 slave soldiers. Tomorrow, this book will be officially published. Thank you for your support. Chapter 78. August 15, 2019. This day was the Hungry Ghost Festival. It was both the 15th of the Gregorian calendar and the 15th of the lunar calendar. In the past, for all summoners, this day was a day worth celebrating, but today was different. At night, a blood-red full moon appeared in the sky, as if it was wiped with blood. After nightfall, the sky of the fire country became blood-red under the illumination of the blood-red moon. An oppressive aura came from the sky, causing the earth to be silent. The insects that were usually noisy at this time were all silent and no longer chirped. The birds refused to return to their nests. It was already night time, but all over the world, large flocks of birds flew in the sky, constantly crying mournfully. In just one day, there were dozens of incidents of birds colliding with planes all over the world. Dolphins and whales in the sea all over the world rushed to the beach and were stranded. Billions of locusts, like dark clouds, covered the sky and rushed to the cities of Africa and southern Guangzhou, violently crashing into the tall buildings in the cities. The bodies of the locusts fell from the sky like raindrops. More than one building's glass windows were smashed by the locusts. The locusts invaded the building through the broken windows, biting and slamming into the building. Many cities fell into great chaos because of the locusts' invasion. If you turned on the radio, television, and various online media, you would see all kinds of news that made people tremble. The previous cities that had riots reached a climax today. Various small videos spread quickly on the internet, instantly magnifying the panic of people. Europe, Asia, Guangzhou, Huaxia, Fire Country, France, Germany, Japan, Russia, the Middle East, and almost all the anti-space invasion command centers of the major countries, the presidents, prime ministers, defense ministers, and other important figures were all watching the real-time surveillance images from the satellites in fear. The huge space crack that appeared in the sky above the Eurasian continent started to expand rapidly from 19:33 p.m. Yenjing time to 14:33 p.m. Greenwich time. The space crack that was originally more than 7,000 kilometers long more than doubled in size in less than half an hour. It became more than 15,000 kilometers long and covered the entire sky above the Eurasian continent. At the same time, in the skies of Guangzhou, Africa, and other places, huge spatial rifts began to appear. These spatial rifts covered the entire sky, like blood-colored vines that extended from the sky. They began to connect bit by bit, gradually forming a large area. At 9:30 p.m. Yen Capital Time, from the ground of the North Light Continent, a huge spatial crack that spanned from north to south and was more than 10,000 kilometers long had appeared in the sky. The sky was like a hole that had been burned through, splitting open from the middle. Should they launch nuclear weapons into the gradually expanding spatial rift? The leaders of the major countries were having an emergency meeting. The example of the British Isles was right in front of them. Nuclear weapons could not solve the threat of space invasions. On the contrary, it could make space invasions even more difficult to deal with. Most countries did not agree to launch nuclear bombs into space rifts, but Russia wanted to try. The entire sky seemed to be burning with fire, and as far as the eye could see, everything was a strange dark red. The traffic in Xinchuan City had long been paralyzed. Some citizens of Xinchuan hid in designated underground shelters, but there were also many citizens who ignored the curfew order and fled the city with their families. The roads of the entire city were filled with cars, and the drivers were frantically honking their horns. The sound of the horns converged into a torrent on the roads. At 9:47 p.m., Wang Shihe walked out of the command center with his dragon-headed cane and arrived outside the provincial headquarters. When he walked out of the main entrance of the building, the old man turned his head to take a look. On the lawn beside the building, ants were surging out from the ground, moving their homes. Looking up, in the blood-colored sky, there was still a large flock of grassland sparrows that had not returned to their nests. They were flying in the sky and shrieking. The newly formed E-Province Demon Suppression Guards and Quick Reaction Unit had long been sent out by the old man to carry out different missions. At this moment, there were not many people left in the provincial headquarters. The Quick Reaction Unit had to maintain order in Xinchuan City and the surrounding areas. They had to protect the electricity, water, and other important facilities to prevent the spread of chaos. The Demon Suppression Guards were divided into many teams and different mission groups to guard various parts of E-Province and deal with any changes. For some reason, the old man who was looking up at the sky suddenly thought of Xia Pingan. He turned his head and looked at his assistant Pan Lin beside him. "Is there any news about Xia Pingan? We have lost contact for more than 24 hours. There is no news from the 3 Special Forces members who were working with Xia Pingan," Pan Lin replied. We have lost contact for 24 hours? The old man frowned slightly. Yes. Pan Lin looked at the old man's darkened face and asked in a low voice, should we send out a search team? No need. What should have happened has happened. The old man shook his head and sighed. The sky wants to rain and the mother wants to marry. Let it be. Sometimes, fortune can be decided by a single thought. Oh right, where is Yen Duo? He led the Yen Battalion to participate in the anti-drug operation a few days ago. They are still carrying out the mission. At this moment, a mournful alarm sounded from the building behind the old man. Pan Lin's face changed. Old man, please enter the emergency shelter immediately. It wasn't just the provincial building that sounded the alarm. Almost at the same time, the entire Xinchuan, the entire Yi province, and all the cities in the entire Fire Country had their anti-space invasion alarms sounding mournfully. The old man shook his head and looked up at the sky. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to watch from here. Amidst the mournful alarm, the orange-red light in the sky outside grew brighter and brighter. More than 10 seconds later, a group of flaming meteorites drilled out from the space crack. They pierced through the clouds and lit up the entire sky. They fell towards the ground and smashed into the wilderness in the distance, making a violent explosion. In just a short minute, 1, 2, 3, 100, 1,000 more and more meteorites with flaming light began to fall from the sky, tearing the clouds in the sky into pieces and continuously falling to the ground. Europe, Africa, Asia, Guangzhou, everywhere was facing the same situation when the first flaming meteorite fell. It was still daytime in Huaxia in Toulon, France. A huge flaming meteorite directly fell on an aircraft carrier anchored in the military port, directly smashing the French Navy's aircraft carrier into two halves and setting off huge waves on the sea. As the flaming meteorites continued to fall, France's largest military port and the warships anchored in the military port suffered heavy losses in just a few minutes. It was a complete mess. Amidst the flames, thick smoke, explosions, and waves on the shore, the entire Toulon began to fall into chaos. After the first fiery meteorite fell on the top of Mount Fuji in Japan, Mount Fuji, which had been silent for a long time, started to rock heavily like an awakened monster. Bloody magma started to erupt from the top of the mountain. In Huaxia, the falling flaming meteorites smashed into the ancient Great Wall, causing the mountains to tremble. All over the world, countless flaming meteorites drilled out from the huge space cracks in the sky and rapidly fell to the ground. In the largest port on the west coast of the Fire Country, the petrochemical factory was hit by a flaming meteorite. The petrochemical factory violently exploded, and the entire port turned into a sea of fire. The Kremlin was completely smashed into pieces by a flaming meteorite in Japan. Tokyo's Ginza was attacked by a flaming meteorite and turned into ruins and a living hell in Paris. Notre Dame collapsed with a loud bang in the attack of the flaming meteorites. The oil refineries in the Middle East were like ignited barrels of gasoline, with thick smoke covering the sky. Explosions and flames lit up the ground one after another, causing the entire earth to tremble. A flaming meteorite fell in the base of the National Committee of Order in Izhou Province, which was only over 1,000 meters away from where Xia Pingan and the others were. Standing in the base of the National Committee of Order in Izhou Province, they could already feel the earth shaking under their feet. Another flaming meteorite fell in the military camp. This time, it was only 400 to 500 meters away from Xia Pingan and the others. The third flaming meteorite fell from the sky with flames and thick smoke, breaking several antennas and signal transmission towers on the top of the auxiliary building beside the provincial headquarters of the National Committee of Order. After destroying 2 floors of the building, the meteorite fell in the open space 200 meters away from the Committee of Order, causing a huge pit on the ground in a split second. The fierce explosion and the impact wave with raging flames shattered all the glass outside the provincial headquarters of the National Committee of Order. Numerous broken glass fell from the building, causing the black building to look like snow. When the shock wave and flames of the explosion were about to sweep over, the old man raised his hand and a huge ice-blue water covered the entire provincial building like a huge pot lid. In the distant Xinchuan City district, when the flaming meteorites fell, it was already on fire. Thick smoke rose into the sky. In the center of Xinchuan City district, two 300-meter-tall skyscrapers that were visible to the naked eye from the provincial headquarters were cut in half by the flaming meteorites and collapsed with a loud bang. On the ground further away, anti-air missiles and anti-ballistic missiles rose from the ground. They were like scorching white arrows that were shot out from the ground, bringing with them streaks of white light as they shot toward the burning orange night sky without any hesitation to meet the huge flaming meteorites that fell from the sky. However, the number of missiles was like a drop in the bucket compared to the flaming meteorites that fell from the sky. The entire Great Yen, the entire Guangzhou province, and almost all the countries in the world, the densely populated cities, the military bases, the ports, and almost all the other places in the world were being baptized by the flaming meteorites that fell from the sky. The earth was shaking, the buildings were collapsing, the cities groaned in pain amidst the flames and thick smoke. When the first flaming meteorite fell, Xia Pingan was lurking like a cheetah, waiting for his prey to enter his ambush range. Xia Pingan raised his head and looked at the sky. The crack in the sky seemed to be spraying a rain of fire. The moment mentioned by the devils I had finally arrived. Tonight was a night of chaos, and it was also a night of murder. Chapter 79. The forest had already been set ablaze. All kinds of animals were fleeing in panic. When another flaming meteorite flew over his head with a loud boom and landed in the valley in the distance, causing a huge noise. Watching the prey that had stepped into his trap, Xia Pingan launched an attack without hesitation. Xia Pingan didn't show any mercy. The moment he launched an attack, the two summoners who had been following him for a day were in a desperate situation. Two large nets suddenly fell from the sky. One of them caught a tiger and 4 slave soldiers in front of it, while the other one caught the two summoners chasing after it in an instant. The moment the two huge nets fell, the 4 elite slave soldiers who had been lying in ambush in the surroundings jumped out at the same time. The elite slave soldiers didn't care about the 5 prey that were struggling in the huge net in front of them. Instead, they directly took out the javelins on their backs and threw them towards the two summoners in the net in front of them. The javelins of elite slave soldiers were heavy and powerful. They were human-shaped killing machines within 50 m. Elite slave soldiers. A summoner trapped in the net uttered a terrified and desperate shriek. He had never imagined that Xia Pingan could summon elite slave soldiers. Pucci. In the shriek, 2 bloody javelins directly penetrated through the summoner's chest and abdomen, nailing him to the ground in a split second. The moment this summoner died, the 4 slave soldiers who were still struggling in the huge net almost turned into light spots and dissipated in a split second. In the large net in front of them, there was only a ferocious tiger that was constantly roaring and struggling to break out of the large net. However, the large net trapping the ferocious tiger became tighter and tighter as the tiger struggled. That ferocious tiger had truly become the prey trapped in the net. The moment the javelins approached the other summoner in the huge net, an icy blue water shield appeared in his hand and a pair of leather armor appeared on his body. The water shield blocked the 2 javelins at once. Watching his companion being killed in a split second, that summoner had to risk his life. The moment he blocked the javelins with his water shield, he pointed outwards with one hand and roared, "Slave soldiers!" With a flash of light, 12 slave soldiers appeared around him and rushed towards the 4 slave soldiers summoned by Xia Pingan. The elite slave soldier summoned by Xia Pingan had already grabbed its second javelin. It threw out 4 javelins, killing 4 slave soldiers in a split second. Before the elite slave soldier could take out its third javelin, The other 8 slave soldiers had already rushed towards Xia Pingan with their javelins. In the blink of an eye, Xia Pingan's elite slave soldier had been engaged in a fierce battle with them in a 2 versus 1 situation. The next second after the summoner who was trapped in the net summoned his water shield, his body ignited with a ball of hot flame, directly burning the net that trapped him. Bang 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 bang! Xia Pingan rushed out from the side, the MR-98 in his hand spitting out tongues of flame as he continuously fired at the summoner who had just escaped from the huge net. 50 magnum bullets flew towards the vital parts of the summoner's body. The summoner rolled on the ground, then bounced up from the ground like a cheetah. His body curled up and twisted in the air, then stretched out the moment he landed, rolled, and fiercely pounced towards the bushes on the side. 6 bullets were fired. In the end, only 1 bullet hit the summoner's thigh, causing blood to blossom. The summoner let out a muffled groan as he dove behind the bush. His movements were slightly sluggish. Xia Pingan had already pounced over at the same time. He was in the air, and a fireball flew out, chasing after the summoner's back. The summoner waved his hand and also cast a fireball. The 2 fireballs exploded in the air, just like fireworks, and directly disappeared without a trace. The moment Xia Pingan landed, a pitch-black scimitar was already slashing towards Xia Pingan. The one holding the scimitar was the injured summoner. His eyes were fierce, his moves were deadly, and his reaction was impeccable. A kick landed on the scimitar, and the black scimitar was swung to the side, exposing the summoner's weakness. The summoner's leg was injured, so his movement speed was a bit slower. He wasn't as agile as Xia Pingan, so Xia Pingan took advantage of this opportunity and directly punched the summoner's waist, causing him to spit out blood as he was sent flying once again. Just as Xia Pingan wanted to follow up with another attack, another fireball flew towards him. The casting speed of the fallen summoner was too fast. Xia Pingan was just about to use a fireball to counteract that fireball, but for some reason, his heart suddenly tightened. Without thinking, he rolled on the ground and jumped to the side to avoid it. The fireball hit a big tree behind Xia Pingan, and the whole tree burst into flames. There was a hidden murderous intent behind the fireball, and there was also a transparent icicle like an arrow hidden behind it. That icicle was like an arrow, directly sinking half a foot into the trunk of the tree. If Xia Pingan had used a fireball to counterattack, he would have fallen into the opponent's trap, and his body might have been pierced by that icicle in an instant. Life and death were between a single thought. After dodging the fireball and the icicle, Xia Pingan rushed out again, and only then did he release the fireball in his hand. The opponent once again released a fireball, which counteracted Xia Pingan's fireball, and set off a brilliant firework in the forest. The firework exploded and the flames were dazzling. The black dragon, who had been hiding at the side, finally found an opportunity to pounce over from the nearby bushes, and bit that person's forehead and calf, directly tearing off a piece of bloody flesh. Ah! That summoner screamed, and in the next second, the black dragon's body was pierced by 2 icicles, turning into specks of light and dissipating. At the same time, another 8 slave soldiers were summoned by that summoner, and all of a sudden, they surrounded Xia Pingan in the middle. That summoner was simply going all out. From setting up an ambush to being surrounded, the change in Xia Pingan's identity only took an instant. However, when the black dragon's body was pierced, Xia Pingan had already used this short time to rush to a close enough distance from that summoner. That summoner summoned the slave soldiers very quickly, but this small gap was enough for Xia Pingan to make his move. Pa! The sound of a whip exploding echoed in the air. At the same time that the black dragon's body was pierced, the black rattlesnake's tail shot out like a bullet from 5 meters away, dodging the leather armor on the summoner's body. Like a fatal blow from a rattlesnake pouncing out of the darkness, it instantly pierced through the summoner's glabella. The black rattlesnake's steel whip's tail directly entered the summoner's head and retracted back like lightning, without a single drop of blood. Almost at the same time that Xia Pingan's black rattlesnake steel whip crushed that summoner's life force, all the summoned creatures that the summoner had summoned froze, strangely stopping. The closest distance between Xia Pingan and a few spears was less than a meter. A drop of blood flowed down from the wound between the summoner's eyebrows. That summoner stared at the black rattlesnake steel whip in Xia Pingan's hand with wide eyes. Never in his wildest dreams had he imagined that he would be killed by that whip. Your whip is not bad." After spitting out a few words, that summoner's face was full of unwillingness and regret as his body fell straight to the ground. Xia Pingan stood on the spot, panting heavily. Although the exchange of blows just now was short, it was extremely dangerous. Since this guy dared to chase after Xia Pingan to kill him, he was indeed capable. He was too difficult to deal with. If not for the fact that the other party didn't know about Xia Pingan's trump card and fell into Xia Pingan's ambush, Xia Pingan might not have been able to win without paying a price this time. With the collapse of this summoner, that fierce tiger in the net in the distance, as well as all the slave soldiers that the summoner had summoned, directly dissipated. 2 of Xia Pingan's 4 elite slave soldiers had been killed in the fight just now. Only 2 elite slave soldiers survived. The most powerful weapon of elite slave soldiers was their javelins. As long as their enemies approached them, they would not be able to use javelins. As a result, the advantage of elite slave soldiers over ordinary slave soldiers could not be fully displayed. In close combat, it would be a bit difficult for an elite slave soldier to deal with 2 ordinary slave soldiers. After the ambush and fight came to an end, the flaming meteorites in the sky didn't stop. Instead, flames were breaking out on the ground. Xia Pingan raised his head and watched the flames breaking through the sky with a solemn look. After being struck by such flaming meteorites, Zhang Tai could imagine what would happen to those big cities. After falling into the valley, the flaming meteorites ignited the trees in the woods. There was already more than one flaming spot in the woods. The line of fire in the woods started to expand rapidly. Zhang Tai didn't know how the other cities were faring, but judging from the flaming rain in the sky just now, the scope of this flaming meteorite attack and the damage it would cause might be beyond imagination. It would definitely be a catastrophe. Xia Pingan searched the bodies of the fallen summoners and took out a certificate from one of them. Xia Pingan's expression changed at once. That certificate was the Country of Fire's police certificate, which was the same as Xia Pingan's police certificate. A summoner carrying a police certificate meant that the summoner's true identity was a summoner under the National Order Council. The police certificate was issued by the Donghu Province Police Department, the same place as the wanted Lin Kuan. Xia Pingan also found the same police certificate on the body of the summoner that he had killed the first time. These 2 summoners were called Wu Qinian and Yongbu. The pursuit of Lin Kuan was a trap that was specifically targeted at him. Looking at the 2 summoners lying on the ground, Xia Pingan's expression darkened. In addition to the police certificate, Xia Pingan also found 2 level 1 Shunli Dan on the bodies of these 2 guys. There was nothing else. Seeing the flames spreading in the surroundings, Xia Pingan disappeared from the mountain range in the blink of an eye. Chapter 80. The road was full of potholes. The meteorites falling from the sky varied in size. When they landed on the ground, even the weakest one would leave a huge crater like a cannonball. An hour later, Xia Pingan climbed over the hill and came to the road. He trotted along the road towards Xinchuan City. The 2 elite slave soldiers and the black dragon that were summoned by Xia Pingan were still closely following Xia Pingan. Finally, Xia Pingan saw cars parked on the road through the wilderness in the mountains. It was not one, but dozens of cars. Several cars had collided on the road. A pickup truck was lying across the road, and an SUV had overturned on the road. 2 cars behind it had rear-ended it, and glass was all over the ground, blocking the road. There were trees on both sides of the road. In the section where the accident happened, all the cars were almost squeezed together. At this moment, no one could be seen in those cars. On the nearby gravel land, 100 meters away, there was a huge crater left by a meteorite. Many of the windows of the cars parked on the road had been shattered by the explosion of the meteorite. A small car was burning on the road, which was particularly eye-catching in the dark night. Xia Pingan ran to the side of the burning car and saw that there were 2 people in the driver's seat and the passenger's seat. The 2 people had long been burned beyond recognition. They were like charcoal and could not be saved. Looking at the burning car, there was a huge crack nearly 1 meter long near the fuel tank on the side of the car that was closest to the crater. The iron sheet of the car was overturned. Looking at the crack, Xia Pingan could infer that the reason why the car was burning was probably because it was hit by the debris of the meteorite explosion. The car exploded, and the people in the car were burned to death before they could get out of the car. The reason why the cars behind stopped here was that there was a traffic accident in front of them that blocked the road. Moreover, there were meteorites falling from the sky. Therefore, under such circumstances, the drivers could only abandon their cars and escape. This road was an ordinary road. The cars on the road could return to Xinchuan by turning around, which was better than walking. Xia Pingan wanted to get a car. Suddenly, Xia Pingan saw that there seemed to be someone in the driver's seat of an SUV among those cars. The person was lying in front of the broken dashboard. He quickly ran over and reached in through the broken window to open the door. There was a lot of dark red blood stains on the dashboard. The driver was a young man around 27 or 28 years old wearing glasses. His face was covered with blood stains. Xia Pingan felt the man's pulse on his neck and found that there was no heartbeat. He then looked at the man's head. There was a thumb-sized hole on the left side of the man's forehead. The hole was facing the crater on the gravel road. He might have been killed by the flying debris or small stones when the meteorite exploded and hit his head. In this short stretch of road, 3 people had already died. Xia Pingan shook his head. There was no one in the cars behind. Xia Pingan easily found a pickup truck. The door of the pickup truck was open and the key was still in the car. When the owner escaped, he didn't even have time to pull out the key. Although the glass of the vehicle was broken, it could still be started. Just as Xia Pingan was about to start the car, he heard a few crisp gunshots coming from the wilderness in the distance. Amidst the gunshots, he could vaguely hear the piercing screams of a woman in the dark night. The moment he heard the gunshots, Xia Pingan hurriedly jumped off the vehicle and rushed towards there. The 2 elite slave soldiers and the black dragon that had already jumped into the carriage also followed Xia Pingan and rushed over. Demon Rat, let's run! Behind a hill, a group of people were fleeing in all directions in panic. A man in a police uniform shouted as he ran and fired 2 more shots at the demon rat that was rushing towards him. In the wilderness, the gunshots could spread very far. The 2 shots only slowed down the demon rat's momentum. Given the size of a lion, the 2 wounds caused by pistols didn't cause any fatal wound. The demon rat still rushed towards them with a more ferocious look. On the sandy ground not far away, under the bloody moonlight, 3 people could be seen lying on the ground: a woman, an old man, and a middle-aged man. The 3 of them were more than 10 steps away from each other, their bodies badly mutilated. Besides this demon rat, 2 more demon rats were chasing after them. One demon rat was lying on the middle-aged man's body. When the middle-aged man was struggling, it shook its head and bit off his neck. Closely after that, the middle-aged man's head rolled to one side with a horrified look. The other demon rat caught up with a woman who was running towards the other side in the blink of an eye. In high-heeled shoes, the woman couldn't run fast. In the blink of an eye, the other demon rat caught up with her and threw her onto the ground. In the blink of an eye, its sharp claws had torn open some terrifying deep wounds on the woman's body, exposing her internal organs. After uttering 2 miserable shrieks, the woman became completely dead. There were 3 demon rats in the wild. Their ferocious eyes and bloody claws were like a nightmare for these people who had just escaped here. The remaining dozens of people scattered in all directions in a flurried way. Some people fell onto the ground from time to time while the woman uttered shrill shrieks. "Pa, pa, pa!" As the policeman ran, he kept firing at the demon rat. In the blink of an eye, he had used up 1 clip of his pistol. Seeing the demon rat rushing towards him like a lion, the policeman who was changing the clip was tripped by a stone and fell onto the ground. The demon rat, which had been shot for several times, instantly charged towards him. Seeing the sharp jaws of the demon rat, which were as sharp as sawtooth, the policeman who had fallen onto the ground hurriedly dropped the clip on the ground. "It's over." The policeman who had fallen onto the ground closed his eyes hopelessly. At the moment when the demon rat was about to bite him, the policeman who had fallen onto the ground closed his eyes hopelessly. At the same time, he heard an angry rebuke. "Bastard!" The black cobra steel whip circled in the air. Before the demon rat charged at the policeman, the black cobra steel whip had already hit the demon rat's head from several meters away, causing it to roll on the ground for a couple of rounds as it uttered an ear-piercing shriek. The moment the demon rat fell onto the ground, it turned its head and stared at Xia Pingan. Then, it bared its teeth and showed an attacking posture. Suddenly, it charged towards Xia Pingan. The brave black dragon rushed up like a lightning bolt and bit the demon rat's retreating head, causing it to bleed. The demon rat turned its head and bit the black dragon. However, the black dragon nimbly dodged it. Puff! A javelin flew from afar and directly penetrated through the demon rat's body, nailing it to the ground. The 2 elite slave soldiers summoned by Xia Pingan arrived. 1 elite slave soldier directly killed the demon rat with a javelin. At the sight of the elite slave soldiers summoned by Xia Pingan and Xia Pingan, the other 2 demon rats didn't escape. Instead, they bared their teeth and rushed towards Xia Pingan. The 2 elite slave soldiers summoned by Xia Pingan threw 2 javelins consecutively. With 2 sounds of puff, puff, the 2 demon rats were nailed to the ground, ending the battle in the blink of an eye. Elite slave soldiers were definitely the nemesis of demon rats. Chapter 81. Su, Summoner. After seeing Xia Pingan kill the 3 demon rats with javelins in the blink of an eye, the policeman who had been lying on the ground became thrilled. His 2 summoned creatures were covered with a layer of faint red light. "Are you hurt?" Xia Pingan glanced at the policeman. The policeman looked to be in his 40s with a beard. He was middle-aged and had a fat body. He was wearing a patrol officer's gray-blue short-sleeved shirt with a police badge on it. I'm fine. That policeman hurriedly sprung up. "Are you a summoner of the Committee of Order?" Xia Pingan nodded. When he spoke, Xia Pingan ran his spiritual energy. The 2 elite slave soldiers had already rushed to the front of those demon rats and turned Xia Pingan's spiritual energy into action. They then stabbed the 3 demon rats with their long spears, causing them to feel a chill in their hearts. Not only that, the 2 elite slave soldiers even broke open the demon rats' heads with their long spears and searched inside their heads to see whether there was a realm bead or not. After breaking open their heads, they didn't find any realm bead. Instead, the ground was covered with their brains and blood, which looked a bit terrifying. Therefore, that policeman's face turned pale. When the elite slave soldiers searched for brains, Xia Pingan ran towards the 4 people lying on the ground not far away and checked them. The 4 people lying on the ground were all dead. Their corpses were too horrible to look at. None of them was alive. Seeing Xia Pingan appear, the people who had scattered before carefully surrounded him again. However, no one dared to approach the corpses of the 3 demon rats. Everyone knew that even if the demon rats were dead, their corpses might carry a lot of viruses and germs. Summoners didn't have to worry. Once they became summoners, they would be immune to all kinds of diseases and would not be infected by these viruses and germs. However, ordinary people had an instinctive fear of these space invaders. Besides being afraid of the demon rats on the ground, those people were also vigilant about the 2 elite slave soldiers who were destroying the demon rats' corpses while giving out faint red light. The elite slave soldiers were barefooted and wore very shabby clothes. With weapons on their backs, they looked expressionless and full of killing intent. Being silent, they were like barbarians and killing machines, which was a bit frightening. When these people surrounded Xia Pingan, the black dragon ran towards a ephedra shrub not far away. In the blink of an eye, Xia Pingan had heard the black dragon's barks from behind the ephedra shrub. "Watch out, there's a space crack behind the shrub. The 3 demon rats drilled out of the space crack just now." That policeman hurriedly warned Xia Pingan. "Are you the owners of those roadside cars?" Yes, they are all the owners of those roadside cars." "I'm a patrolman who came here to deal with the traffic accident after receiving the report. Previously, we were still in the cars. However, a fiery meteorite suddenly fell from the sky, burning one of the cars and killing some people. Therefore, we dared not stay in the cars. Therefore, we ran here to take shelter." That policeman replied. "Wait here for a moment, I will take a look over there." Xia Pingan told the 2 elite slave soldiers and the others to stay here as he ran towards the place where the black dragon barked. It was only a distance of a few dozen meters, but Xia Pingan quickly ran to the shrubs where the ephedra grew. Right in the shrub, the black dragon was barking towards an irregular space crack with a diameter of over 10 m. It was Xia Pingan's first time to see a space crack in such a close distance. The spatial crack was like a wriggling bubble. Looking at it from any angle, the bubble looked scary. Inside the bubble, there seemed to be a black fog that wanted to come out. To be honest, when Xia Pingan saw the spatial rift, he thought of the chefs washing the intestines of a pig. The spatial rift was like one end of a pig's intestine that had been turned over. Looking at the way it was squirming, he didn't know when it would roll out of it. Looking at this space crack, Xia Pingan was a little apprehensive. The black space crack was a permanent space crack, which was different from those temporary space cracks. Temporary space cracks were dark red in color, and could exist for as short as a few minutes, or as long as a few weeks, or even a few months. However, once a black space crack appeared, it could exist for as short as 8 to 10 years, or as long as hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of years. The number of permanent space cracks that had been discovered in various parts of the world was not large. Only a little more than 100 of them had been disclosed, and they were scattered all over the world. They were heavily guarded by various countries, who had set up heavy defenses and fortresses, for fear that something would escape from those permanent space cracks. Among them, the more than 10 permanent space cracks in Africa were jointly guarded by the multi-country garrisons sent by the United Nations. Unexpectedly, one had appeared in front of him. Xia Pingan picked up a stone from the ground and threw it at the space crack. Half of the stone was cut by the edge of the space crack, and it instantly turned into black mist and melted into the space crack. The other half of the stone fell to the ground, corroded by the energy in the space crack, and decayed. Only the space-invading creatures from the other side could pass through such a space crack. However, if something wanted to pass through here, no matter what it was, it would be completely disintegrated by the space crack in the blink of an eye. Until now, Xia Pingan still did not know how Huaxia and Great Yen sent a team of 268 people through the space tunnel to the other side, and even brought them back. Although there were rumors that the price of passing through to the other side was very high, looking at the space crack in front of him, he knew how heaven-defying it was to allow living people to pass through the space tunnel and enter the other side. He did not know how many years this space crack would take to disappear, But it was definitely the most dangerous thing to do here, because there was no telling when something would escape from this space tunnel. The black dragon was digging on the ground next to him, and it even roared to warn Xia Pingan. Xia Pingan walked over, squatted down, and carefully looked at the ground where the black dragon was digging. The sand on the ground was slightly softer than the surrounding area, and the deeper it went, the finer the sand became. It was slightly different from the sand produced in the surrounding area. Sandworms. The image of a sandworm immediately appeared in Xia Pingan's mind. Apart from the devil rats, there were also sandworms that had invaded earlier. However, sandworms were good at hiding underground. Perhaps they were hiding somewhere nearby and were not easy to find. Moreover, he did not know how many sandworms there were, so he could not do anything about the sandworms that were hiding underground. Xia Pingan patted the black dragon's head, and quickly brought the black dragon back to where the group of people were just now. There may be devil rats coming out of that space crack at any time. There are sandworms hidden underground here. Everyone should leave here as soon as possible, Xia Pingan said to the police officer. Hearing that sandworms and devil rats would come out again, those people were so scared that their faces turned pale. Many of them ran directly to the road. The police officer swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said, "Right, I forgot to introduce myself just now. My name is Wang Feng. How should I address you?" "My name is Yen Huan," Xia Pingan replied. At this moment, Xia Pingan did not want others to know that he was still alive, so he made up a temporary pseudonym. Xia Pingan also returned to the road with the rest of the people. As soon as they returned to the road, those people ran to their respective cars and started them one by one. Wang Feng came to his police car and wanted to use the radio to contact the station, but he found that the radio was noisy and could not be contacted at all. If he wanted to make a call, there was usually signal coverage in the wilderness, but at this moment there was no signal on his phone. In desperation, he ordered the cars on the road to first pull away the cars blocking the road and restore the road to its original state. The road here was only 2 lanes. The overturned cars and burning cars had to be cleared to one side first. Officer Wang first directed the cars in front to make way for the 2 pickup trucks and off-road vehicles with winches behind them to come up. Then, he used ropes and winches to drag the overturned cars up first, bit by bit. The road was a mess, and the cars that started had some small bump. However, at this time, the people who had just experienced a disaster did not care about these things. "Officer Wang, where are you going?" Xia Pingan asked the police officer. "I want to return to the police station. My family is still in Xinchuan. I want to go back." "We're going the same way. I want to go back to Xinchuan too," Xia Pingan said. "Okay." Wang Feng quickly thanked him. Just looking at the 2 summoned creatures beside Xia Pingan gave people a sense of security. Having a summoner willing to go back with him was what he wanted. At this time, a man and a woman walked towards Xia Pingan. The man had a big belly and wore a suit. He looked to be in his 50s, and his hair was combed back. The woman beside the man was in her 20s. She wore a short skirt and was somewhat enchanting. After the man came in front of Xia Pingan, he nodded to Xia Pingan and directly said to Xia Pingan, "I am a citizen and taxpayer of the Fire Country. According to the laws of the Fire Country, I am now in danger and have the right to ask the Committee of Order for protection. Aren't you a summoner of the Committee of Order? Now, please protect me and my family and send us out of here." Xia Pingan glanced at the man. Just now, in the wilderness, the man was so scared that his face turned pale and he trembled as he walked. Now that he was not completely out of danger, he actually wanted Xia Pingan to be his bodyguard. Not far away, the man's car was parked. It was the kind that could be considered high-end. The woman beside the man looked a bit like the man's little lover. Xia Pingan took a deep breath and said expressionlessly, "The summoners of the Committee of Order, according to the work discipline, do not accept any personal missions. According to the procedures, you can call the Committee of Orders phone number 999 for help and report your situation to the Committee of Order. If I receive a mission from the Committee of Order, I will protect you and leave. How can the phone be connected in this situation? The man shouted in dissatisfaction. If the phone can't be connected, you can complain to the phone company. This has nothing to do with me. What kind of attitude is this? The middle-aged man's voice immediately became louder. He glanced at the woman beside him and found that she was pouting and was somewhat dissatisfied. The man felt that he had lost face and immediately glared at Xia Pingan. He actually began to threaten him verbally. I pay a few million a year in taxes just to support people like you. Now you're actually leaving me in the lurch. Let me tell you, I know a lot of people in the Izhou province, including many leaders in the province, including your Committee of Orders Wang Shihe, and many members of the Committee of Supervision. You better think about the consequences of rejecting me now. I will remember you. Your name is Yan Huan, be careful of me. The summoners of the Committee of Order rely on their own abilities to make a living. The money I earn has nothing to do with you. It's the country's reward for buying our labor and ability. You are welcome to complain to the Committee of Order and the Committee of Supervision about me. Xia Pingan curled his lips and turned to leave. Ha, you're still being arrogant. What's so great about you? You know what it means to respect the old and love the young. I haven't finished speaking. Why are you leaving? The man saw Xia Pingan turn around and reached out to grab Xia Pingan's clothes. Woof! The black dragon beside Xia Pingan saw that the man actually dared to reach out to Xia Pingan and grab his clothes. It immediately became angry and rushed over, biting the man's calf fiercely. Ah! The man screamed and was suddenly pulled to the ground by the black dragon. He hugged his leg and wailed. He screamed at the top of his lungs, "Murder! Murder! This summoner is using his dog to commit murder. You guys be my witnesses, I want to sue him." The woman beside the man turned pale with fright and quickly retreated. Chapter 82. Black Dragon, that's enough. Xia Pingan spoke softly when he saw that the man's right leg was badly mangled and torn open by the black dragon. The black dragon glared at the man and growled in a low voice. It bared its teeth, but it still obediently retreated and did not bite again. The man lay on the ground and wailed loudly. He looked at his injured right leg and then at Xia Pingan. His eyes were filled with fear and anger. Just you wait. I'm not done with you. The man hugged his leg and groaned miserably. His face was twisted as he vented his anger at Xia Pingan. You don't know who I am. I'll remember you. You let your dog commit murder. Don't think that I can't deal with you just because you're a summoner. I have plenty of money, woof. The black dragon barked and bared its teeth. It wanted to pounce on him again. When the man saw that the black dragon wanted to pounce on him again, he was so scared that he quickly shut his mouth. He rolled on the ground and stumbled to his feet. Officer, this person let his dog commit murder. It has hurt me. I want to call the police now. Aren't you going to do anything? The man said loudly to Officer Wang. Officer Wang also looked at the man speechlessly and replied coldly, "The police can't do anything about summoners. You can file a complaint. Just you wait." The man was still venting his anger. At this moment, Xia Pingan seemed to feel something. He suddenly turned his head and looked in the direction of the ephedra shrubs a few hundred meters away. His expression changed. In the shrubs that hid the permanent space crack, it was as if a fire was burning. The light suddenly became bright. Just a few seconds later, a fire really appeared. The shrubs were set ablaze by something unknown. It was particularly conspicuous in the wilderness at night. Then, a huge figure appeared behind the fire. It was neither a demon rat nor a sandworm. It was a monster that was nearly 3 to 4 meters tall. Its back was bulging, and its body was nearly 8 to 9 meters long. At first glance, it looked like a giant steel spider. It had 8 legs, a pair of giant pincers, and its body was covered with black, hard scales. There were flames burning on the scales. That thing was simply like a tank. Devil fire spider. Xia Pingan was shocked. These words flashed through his mind. Xia Pingan had seen this illustrated handbook of Space Invaders in the Committee of Orders data. In the Committee of Orders classification of Space Invaders, as long as a magic fire spider appeared, the lowest level of Space Invaders would be G-class. This was enough to show the danger of these Space Invaders. The magic liquid spiders often appeared together with the magic fire spiders. These two invading creatures looked very similar. Although their attacking methods were different, they were both very difficult to deal with. Everyone, run! Xia Pingan shouted at everyone on the road. Only then did those people who were stunned come to their senses and quickly run away. Magic fire spiders were born with the ability to use fire. They were completely immune to all kinds of fire damage. Therefore, spells such as the Fireball skill were useless against magic fire spiders. In addition to their immunity to the Fireball skill, the magic fire spider's body had a layer of scales that was as hard as alloy steel. The Committee of Orders, Monster Atlas, had tested the defensive ability of the magic fire spider's scales. The defensive ability of the normal magic fire spider's scales was equivalent to 120 mm to 180 mm thick homogeneous steel plate. Normal bullets, rifle grenades, and grenades would be like tickling the magic fire spider. To deal with magic fire spiders, tanks, RPG rocket launchers, heavy artillery, and individual missiles were all good things. However, the prerequisite was that they could hit their target. These things moved too fast and were sensitive to the environment. There were 2 kinds of summoners who could deal with magic fire spiders. One was a summoner whose physical strength was above the 1 yuan realm and who had a magic weapon. The other was a summoner who had mastered some powerful summoning skills. If these conditions were not met, other than ganging up on the magic fire spider, the best choice was to run away. Magic fire spiders were not without weaknesses. They looked strong, but they also had a weakness, which was that they were afraid of water. If you had the ability to make the magic fire spider stand still and spray it with a high-pressure water gun, you might be able to kill it with the high-pressure water gun. Xia Pingan was not the only one who saw the magic fire spider. Others also saw it. The moment the magic fire spider appeared, someone in the nearby crowd screamed. The people who were already in the car did not care. They started the car, stepped on the accelerator, and rushed forward. More than half of the cars in front of them were pushed out of the way and fled. Those who did not get in the car panicked and ran in all directions or ran to the car. Wait for me, you be *tsh. The man whose leg was bitten by the black dragon screamed with a pale face. He wanted the woman beside him to wait for him, but the woman directly left him, ran to the car, and drove away. The man could only limp in the direction of Xia Pingan. Even if he was running for his life, he still felt that it was safer to follow a summoner. Magic fire spiders were more terrifying than magic rats and man-eating insects. That thing was simply a fire-breathing tank among space invaders. It was not an ordinary horror. Xia Pingan could only run. There was nothing he could do if he didn't run. He only had 2 offensive summoning spells. One was the Fireball spell, and the other was the Elite Soldier spell. These 2 summoning spells couldn't even harm the demonic fire spider. However, before running away, the 2 elite slave soldiers that Xia Pingan summoned had already taken out their javelins and ran towards the magic fire spider, trying to buy time for everyone. The magic fire spider had already discovered the fleeing crowd. It crossed the burning ephedra shrubs and the small gravel hill and directly rushed towards Xia Pingan's group. Its speed was not slower than a person running at full speed. In the blink of an eye, it had crossed over 100 meters and rushed towards the road. the two elite slave soldiers that Xia Pingan summoned threw their javelins. The two javelins accurately hit the demonic fire spider's body, but only produced a crisp sound as if they had hit steel. The two javelins only caused sparks to appear on the demonic fire spider's scales. The demonic fire spider was unscathed and quickly rushed towards them. Under the command of Xia Pingan, the two elite slave soldiers jumped and ran towards the demonic fire spider from two directions, one from the left and one from the right, to create time for the others to escape. The magic fire spider spat out a silk-like fiery thread from its mouth. After crossing dozens of meters, the fiery thread instantly pierced through the body of an elite slave soldier summoned by Xia Pingan and wrapped around it. The entire elite slave soldier was set ablaze and disappeared in a few seconds. The other elite slave soldier dodged away from the burning spider's silk and threw out a javelin from a short distance. The moment it arrived in front of that demon fire spider, it directly jumped onto the back of the 3 to 4 m high demon fire spider and grabbed the gap between the scales of the demon fire spider by one hand. Closely after that, it took out a javelin by the other hand and fiercely inserted it into the gap between the scales of the demon fire spider. The magic fire spider frantically shook its body, but it still couldn't get rid of the elite slave soldier that jumped onto its back. Elite slave soldiers were indeed elite slave soldiers. They fought bravely and had relatively high intelligence. However, that elite slave soldier could only last 5 to 6 seconds against the magic fire spider. After a few seconds, dark red flames rose on the magic fire spider's back. Its body temperature suddenly increased. The elite slave soldier that jumped onto the magic fire spider's back was set ablaze and soon dissipated. The magic fire spider rushed to the side of the road in the blink of an eye and spat out a fiery thread from its mouth. The burning fiery thread crossed another 100 meters and wrapped around a car. That car immediately burst into flames and fiercely exploded. The shock wave from the explosion overturned several people that were fleeing along the road. Seeing the magic fire spider chasing after another group of fleeing people, Xia Pingan had no choice but to turn around and directly throw a fireball at the magic fire spider. The fireball exploded on the magic fire spider's body and burst into flames. After discovering that Xia Pingan was a summoner, the magic fire spider immediately changed its direction and chased after Xia Pingan. "You're crazy!" Seeing Xia Pingan provoking the magic fire spider and making it chase after them, the man with the wound on his leg was so scared that his face twisted. The man probably would never have thought that Xia Pingan would take the initiative to provoke the demon fire spider at this time. However, before he could run a few steps, a ball of burning flame spider silk suddenly wrapped around the man. The man screamed and instantly turned into a human torch. The demonic fire spider rushed over and pulled the burning man into the air, swallowed him, and continued to chase after Xia Pingan. Seeing such a guy die, Xia Pingan didn't feel sorry at all. The road was in chaos. Because the driver was too nervous, a car made an excessive turn and rushed in front of the magic fire spider. The magic fire spider waved its pincers and crushed the door and roof of the car. The driver's body was directly clamped in two. "Drive away, don't follow me. I'll lead the magic fire spider away," Xia Pingan shouted to Wang Feng while running. He had Wang Feng run towards his police car. Xia Pingan rushed off the road and rushed towards the wilderness on the other side. After the magic fire spider destroyed a car, it really set its sights on Xia Pingan. It left the others and followed Xia Pingan into the wilderness. Xia Pingan desperately ran in the wilderness while keeping his eyes on the road ahead. His long-range vision ability was watching the big killer behind him and looking for the road ahead. It was as if Xia Pingan had eyes at the back of his head. From time to time, he would dodge the fiery spider webs that came from behind him. The demon fire spider's fiery silk could burn rocks and even pull them back. If it landed on a person, the result could be imagined. It would not stop until the person was burned to ashes. Moreover, it could pull the person into its mouth in an instant. The black dragon summoned by Xia Pingan was tangled in a ball of flame spider silk as it fled with Xia Pingan. In the blink of an eye, it was burned and disappeared. The skills that he had learned from the 400m military obstacle course in the training ground were finally put into use. Xia Pingan took the devil fire spider and ran further and further into the wilderness. They ran further and further until they reached a barren mountain full of rocks. Under the guidance of Xia Pingan, the devil fire spider that was chasing Xia Pingan was getting closer and closer to Xia Pingan. There was a cliff that was dozens of meters high in front of him. Xia Pingan rushed to the edge of the cliff and jumped down without thinking. The devil fire spider rushed to the edge of the cliff. When it lowered its head, it found that there was a big river below the cliff. The devil fire spider quickly stopped. Some of the gravel under its feet fell down the river with Xia Pingan. The devil fire spider lowered its head and half of its body was out of the cliff. It then spat out burning spider webs at Xia Pingan, who was in the air. Xia Pingan threw out a fireball. The burning spider webs and the fireball melted together in the air and burst into flames. However, before the devil fire spider could do anything, a big net flew out from Xia Pingan's hand and caught the devil fire spider. After running for so long, Xia Pingan had been waiting for this moment. Xia Pingan firmly grasped the huge net with both hands. Using the momentum of his falling body, he fiercely pulled it up and kicked off the cliff with both legs. The huge body of the demon fire spider, which had already rushed to the edge of the cliff, was instantly dragged down by Xia Pingan's huge net and fell down the cliff together with Xia Pingan, one after another falling into the surging river below. Chapter 83. Plop! Xia Pingan's head and feet fell directly into the surging river. Even after falling into the river, Xia Pingan did not loosen his grip on the net. The river was very deep, and Xia Pingan did not touch the bottom of the river when he fell straight into the water. Less than a second after he fell, the huge body of the demon fire spider also fell from the cliff, smashing into the waves more than 10 meters high. It was different from Xia Pingan's fall into the water. The moment the demon fire spider, which was like a fire-breathing tank, fell into the water, a large amount of water vapor rose from the water surface like a piece of burning coal and a piece of porcelain being thrown into the water. The demon fire spider violently rolled and struggled in the water. The water around it was heated up by the flames on its body into steam, and countless bubbles constantly emerged from the water. Fortunately, they were in the middle of a surging river, and the water in the river was endless. If they were in a smaller swimming pool, Xia Pingan even suspected that the flames on the demon fire spider's body would have boiled the water in the swimming pool. The more the demon fire spider struggled, the tighter the net on the demon fire spider's body. In just a few seconds, Xia Pingan saw that the scales on the demon fire spider's body, which were comparable to uniform steel plates, began to explode in the water, turning into fragments that sank into the water. Such a scene was simply too shocking. It was as if there was an invisible hand in the water, peeling off the demon fire spider's hard and hot shell layer by layer, revealing the demon fire spider's badly mutilated body under the shell. The demon fire spider's body was too huge, and its strength was needless to say. Even in the water, when the demon fire spider struggled, its strength was not something that Xia Pingan could compare with. The fiendish fire spider struggled in the water, trying to return to the shore. The net that trapped the fiendish fire spider earlier began to tear apart bit by bit as the fiendish fire spider struggled. Seeing this situation, Xia Pingan certainly wouldn't wait for death. He pulled the net and quickly swam to the demon fire spider's side. He climbed directly onto the demon fire spider's huge head, took out a dagger, and used all his strength to viciously stab at the demon fire spider's head. In the billowing river, the water around the magical fire spider was still much hotter than the surrounding water. It was almost 40 degrees Celsius. Thankfully, the water in the river was running, which the magical fire spider could not boil. Therefore, the water didn't burn Xia Pingan. The hard scales on the head of the demonic fire spider had long been broken into pieces, exposing the organs under the scales. Xia Pingan's stab was so powerful that the entire dagger, together with Xia Pingan's fist, pierced into the organs behind the demonic fire spider's head. It felt as if he had stabbed into a pile of mud. Xia Pingan's hand that held the dagger vigorously stirred the mud, stabbing and cutting randomly. The fiendish fire spider rolled even more violently in the water, trying to shake off Xia Pingan. Meanwhile, Xia Pingan's other hand, using his bare hand as a knife, fiercely stabbed into the organs of the fiendish fire spider's head, holding it tightly. The fiendish fire spider's limbs waved, but couldn't touch Xia Pingan. The fiendish fire spider also opened its bloody mouth, trying to bite Xia Pingan. However, it couldn't bite him and could only continue to struggle in the water. Suddenly, the fiendish fire spider seemed to have thought of something. It suddenly turned its head in the water and spat out a large ball of sticky spider silk. The sticky spider silk immediately melted in the water like dough, directly sticking Xia Pingan's hands to the fiendish fire spider's head. He couldn't move anymore and his whole body was fixed. Then, the fiendish fire spider directly turned over in the water, with its back facing down and its belly facing up. When the fiendish fire spider turned over, Xia Pingan's whole body was pressed down by the fiendish fire spider's body underwater. The fiendish fire spider's mouth could be seen above the water surface to breathe, but Xia Pingan couldn't breathe underwater, because his hands and half of his body were fixed to the fiendish fire spider's head and neck. Seeing that it couldn't shake him off, the fiendish fire spider wanted to drown him. Xia Pingan suddenly understood. F***ck, let's see who will kill who. Xia Pingan inserted his hands into the fiendish fire spider's head, then directly summoned the fireball technique and released it from his hands. The scales on the surface of the fiendish fire spider could withstand the high-temperature flames, but Xia Pingan didn't believe that the internal organs of the fiendish fire spider could also withstand the high-temperature flames. The demonic fire spider's body under the water instantly turned red as it desperately pressed Xia Pingan to the bottom of the river. Mud rose up from the river, causing the water to turn turbid. In the turbulent river, Xia Pingan, who was fighting with the fiendish fire spider, suddenly bumped into a huge floating log. The huge pressure and impact caused him to feel his whole body shake. His vision turned black, his throat became sweet, and he fainted. At daybreak, Xia Pingan opened his eyes on a riverbank north of Xinchuan City. After opening his eyes, Xia Pingan looked around and found that his hands were still holding the fiendish fire spider's huge head. The terrifying fiendish fire spider from last night was now soaked in the water. Half of its body had been burned and was already cold. The dough-like spider silk that stuck to his hands last night had probably been soaked in the water for too long. At this time, it had also disappeared without a trace. Only a small trace of mucus could be seen. However, the huge body of the cold fiendish fire spider was like a water monster that had come out of nowhere. It was still a bit frightening. There was a river bank next to the river bank, which was covered with lush water grasses and reeds. Zhang Tai and the magical fire spider were right beside those water grasses and reed. Below them was a shoal covered with cobblestones. It was good that he was alive. In the distant Xinchuan city, thick smoke was billowing. Violent gunshots and explosions were reverberating in the air. The gunshots immediately made Xia Pingan extremely alert. Xia Pingan lay down for a while to recover his physical strength. When his mind was completely clear, he endured the discomfort in his body, clenched his teeth, and slowly stood up. He wanted to leave the riverbank. Last night, Xia Pingan still felt that his back was somewhat weak. His bones were aching and his qi and blood were stagnant. He should have been injured and needed to recuperate. The MR-98 revolver and mobile phone had fallen into the river when he was fighting with the fiendish fire spider last night. At this moment, he didn't know where they were. The black cobra steel whip was still hanging on his waist. Just as Xia Pingan was about to leave, his eyes seemed to have sensed something flashing in the fiendish fire spider's head. Xia Pingan immediately stopped. Half of the fiendish fire spider's head had been burnt. In the other half of the brain tissue, a small part of a strange texture was revealed. Xia Pingan used the dagger in his hand to stab the fiendish fire spider's head. He cut open some messy things and pried them open. Then, Xia Pingan took out a round bead from the fiendish fire spider's head. The bead was still stained with some yellow and black disgusting things. Xia Pingan took the bead and washed it in water. The bead's full appearance was immediately revealed. Boundary bead. It was actually a boundary bead. At this moment, Xia Pingan quietly held his breath. The boundary bead's brilliance was restrained and looked simple. However, if one looked carefully, one could see the brilliance in the boundary bead slowly rotating like a galaxy. In the galaxy there were two Xiaozhuan characters, Tsang-jie. It was actually Tsang-jie. Xia Pingan was shocked, followed by ecstasy. This boundary bead was not an ordinary boundary bead. According to the information that Xia Pingan had read about boundary beads of summoners, boundary beads with the words Tsang-jie written on them were the most precious boundary beads. It was also one of the most difficult boundary beads to obtain. Its value was immeasurable. In terms of preciousness, this boundary bead was even more precious than 10 treasure boundary beads added together. It was called the crown of boundary beads. The reason why Tsang-jie boundary beads were so precious was that after fusing with Tsang-jie's boundary beads, the fusing summoner could master powerful and mysterious holy text. Chapter 84. Divine runes were one of the most mysterious and powerful skills that a summoner could grasp. Divine runes could be used through all sorts of carriers and objects, allowing a summoner's summoning techniques to have many variations and greater power. In addition, the most important ability of this realm bead was that it allowed a summoner's secret mandala to display many mysterious and powerful effects. Amongst the summoner community, there was even a saying that a secret mandala that didn't fuse with a divine runic realm bead was an incomplete secret mandala. Some people even considered the divine runic realm bead to be the most important soul realm bead and ruler realm bead of a secret mandala. Amongst all summoners, from ancient times until now, this realm bead had always been one of the realm beads that all summoners wanted to fuse with. After different summoners fused with this realm bead, they would obtain different amounts of divine force points. The lowest would be 20 to 30 points, and the highest would be 50 to 60 points. No one knew just how much divine force this realm bead could provide, and there was no public record of a perfect fusion with this realm bead. Many summoners called those that could fuse with this realm bead divine runic summoner. Xia Pingan knew that the reason this Tsang-jie realm bead was so special was because Tsang-jie was the god of Chinese characters. In history, he had many titles. Tsang-jie was the first person to create characters in the history of China and was also the first historian of the Yellow Emperor. He was the founding ancestor of Chinese historians, the recorder and witness of Chinese civilization. At the same time, Tsang-jie was the first person in China to be called a teacher and was also the first person to be conferred a saint. It was said that Tsang-jie was the first one to receive the Luo Shu in the river map Luo Shu. After becoming a summoner for so long, no realm bead had ever dropped. Xia Pingan didn't think that the first realm bead he would drop would be the rare and precious Tsang-jie realm bead. Xia Pingan couldn't find the words to describe the excitement in his heart. Indeed, after surviving a great disaster, one was bound to have good fortune. The roaring sounds of fighter jets cutting through the skies caused Xia Pingan to quickly put away the realm bead in his hand. Xia Pingan looked up and saw 2 fighter jets flying towards Xinchuan City at an extremely fast speed. In Xinchuan City, guns and cannons roared, and from time to time, violent explosions could be heard. Xia Pingan glanced at Xinchuan City with his remote vision ability and was immediately shocked by the scene in front of him. At this moment, Xinchuan City was filled with devil rats, devil fire spiders, and devil liquid spiders. Many streets had become battlefields. At this moment, apart from the troops of the Yizhou Committee of Order, an armored regiment and a mechanized infantry regiment of the 87th Legion stationed in the outskirts of Xinchuan City had already entered the battle. The Air Force had also joined in. Tanks, armored vehicles, and self-propelled artillery had already arrived in the city and were fighting the invading creatures. The soldiers participating in the battle made use of the buildings, and cars on the streets to form lines of defense and positions. Countless bullets whizzed through the city every second. Under Xia Pingan's gaze, he saw a team of heroic soldiers taking turns to provide cover as they rushed towards a devil fire spider. When 2 soldiers were burned to ashes by the devil fire spider's fiery spider silk, a soldier seized the opportunity and suddenly came out from behind a car and blew the devil fire spider into pieces with a shoulder-mounted anti-tank missile. In another alley, a squad of soldiers blocked 2 devil rat. Under the roar of the squad's machine gun, the 2 devil rats were shot into sieves. However, a soldier was still pushed to the ground by a devil rat that rushed in front of him, and his neck was bitten off. Fierce battles took place in various parts of the city. However, in the center and southwest of Xinchuan City, there were 2 huge permanent spatial rifts over 100 meters in diameter. The tanks and combat vehicles that had entered the city had already set up 2 positions around the 2 huge spatial rifts. Magic rats, magic fire spiders and magic liquid spiders were constantly rushing out of the 2 spatial rifts in the face of the rain of bullets. The explosions of tanks, self-propelled artillery, rocket launchers, and laser-guided bombs had already turned the 2 blocks that had exited the permanent spatial rifts into ruins. Similarly, many corpses of soldiers were also scattered on the streets of the city. The wreckage of destroyed armored vehicles was also burning on the street. Devil liquid spiders that were similar in size to devil fire spiders were rapidly crawling on the streets of ruins. The threads of devil liquid spiders were covered with thick mucus. When the threads and mucus fell on the tanks and armored vehicles, they could completely corrode the armor of those vehicles and cut them apart. Xia Pingan then used his remote vision to look at the provincial base of the Committee of Order. Compared to the city of Xinchuan, the provincial base was in an even more miserable state. The black provincial building had already been torn apart, and everywhere was a twisted, collapsed, and melted steel structure skeleton. It was as if it had been blasted, and no one could tell what it originally looked like. Underneath the provincial building, there was a huge, pitch-black crater with a diameter of more than 10 meters. Half of the auxiliary building next to the provincial building, which was the base of the E-Province Demon Suppression Army, had also collapsed. All the glass was shattered. This scene made Xia Pingan's heart tremble. With such a violent explosion, if there were still people in the provincial base at that time, they might not have survived. The base of the Rapid Reaction Corps behind the provincial base was also in a mess. The base of the Rapid Reaction Corps was already empty. There were barely any intact buildings or people. On the empty ground outside the provincial building, there were over 100 devil rats and over 10 devil fire spiders scattered about. At this moment, there was not a single person on the ground of the Committee of Order's provincial base. As far as his eyes could see, the entire Xinchuan city had been completely turned into a battlefield. The violent sounds of gunfire and explosions from afar made Xia Pingan not stay here for long. After putting away the realm bead, he endured the discomfort on his back and staggered towards the reed field from the riverbank. This river flowed from north to south through Xinchuan City. This place was already the outskirts of Xinchuan City. Today was only the second day of the holy arrival, and everything had changed greatly. Everything that happened last night was just the beginning. It was really hard to imagine what would happen in the future. After passing through the wild reed field, there was a suburban villa area close to the riverbank. This riverbank was inside the villa area. At this moment, there was no one in the villa area. A Falcon-armed helicopter had crashed on the grassland outside the villa area, leaving only a pitch-black wreckage behind. Dozens of meters away from the crashed helicopter was a huge crater left by a fiery meteorite. The grassland around the crater was scorched black. Several oak trees near the crater had fallen to the ground and were charred black. Chapter 85. Xia Pingan observed the surroundings and quickly ran towards the crashed helicopter. Inside the charred helicopter, there were 2 charred corpses on the pilot and co-pilot seat. There were no other weapons or supplies that could be used. On this grassland, the distant Xinchuan City could be seen more clearly. The morning sun rose as usual, but Xinchuan City was shrouded in thick smoke. Plumes of black smoke rose into the sky from the city. Now, many burning buildings could be seen, and many high-rise buildings were shattered. After 2 days of continuous fighting in the wild and experiencing several fights, Xia Pingan's body at this moment was exhausted. He also suffered heavy injuries. His whole body was wet from head to toe, so he urgently needed to find a place to rest, replenish his strength, and treat his injuries. More than 200 meters away, there was a luxurious 3-story villa in the villa area. The villa had gray walls, white tiles, a chimney, grassland, a private garden, a swimming pool, and a few sculptures. The villa's garden was surrounded by an iron fence, which looked expensive. This should be the place where the rich of Xinchuan lived. Xia Pingan ran towards the villa. The glass windows of the villa near the river had all been shattered by the explosion. The grass on the lawn outside the villa was somewhat vigorous. It probably had not been trimmed for more than half a month. A lot of fallen leaves floated in the villa's swimming pool, and there was some soil at the bottom of the pool. From these signs, this big villa should have been empty for a while. No one lived here, just right. Xia Pingan jumped over the railing outside the villa, crossed the lawn, walked around the villa, and came to the back door of the villa. He directly reached in through the broken glass window, opened the back door, and entered the villa. After closing the door, Xia Pingan became the temporary owner of the villa. Except for the broken glass at the door and the window, the villa was clean and tidy. It looked magnificent. Tap tap. Xia Pingan tried the villa's switch and found that there was no electricity in the villa. After entering the villa, Xia Pingan went directly to the kitchen on the first floor. The water flowing down from the huge freezer in the kitchen made the floor a bit slippery. It seemed that the ice in the freezer had melted after the power went out last night, and then flowed down. Opening the freezer, Xia Pingan let out a long breath. Thank God! The freezer was full of food. This kind of rich family really did not lack food. The freezer was out of power last night, so the food in the freezer was still fresh. There were all kinds of meat, canned food, sausages, fruits, drinks, and vegetables. They were all placed according to categories. The fruits and vegetables were all well packaged, and were all high-quality goods. Xia Pingan took out 2 canned fish from the freezer, opened the can on the table next to the kitchen table, and ate it. After eating the 2 canned food, Xia Pingan, he finally felt a bit better. He then looked around the villa. The rich and powerful who lived in such a large villa would definitely have a medicine box. There should be no shortage of all kinds of commonly used medicine. After searching for a while, Xia Pingan finally found a medicine box. There were gauze, bandages, and a lot of medicine in the medicine box. Xia Pingan took the gauze, bandages, and the medicine for bruises and injuries to the villa's bathroom. In the bathroom, he took off his clothes and tactical vest one by one. Then he turned around and looked at his back through the mirror in the dressing room. In the mirror, from Xia Pinggan's right shoulder to his lower left ribs, there was a ghastly black mark that was more than a foot long. Half of his back was bruised and swollen, and it was already difficult for him to raise his right arm. If it was Xia Pinggan before he became a summoner, he might have died in the river with this kind of injury. He turned on the bathroom faucet, and there was still water. There was still some sand on his hair and body. His clothes and shoes were wet and uncomfortable. Xia Pinggan took off everything on his body and took a shower in the bathroom. After taking a shower, Xia Pinggan had no one to help him. He could only unwrap the bandages himself and apply the external medicine to the bandages. Then he bit the bandages with his teeth and wrapped the bandages around the wounds with great difficulty. After using more than 10 minutes to finish all this, Xia Pinggan was already sweating profusely. After wrapping the wounds, Xia Pinggan wandered around the villa and found 3 large dressing rooms. There were women's clothes in one of the dressing rooms, and men's clothes in the other 2. It seemed that a family of 3 had lived here before. The clothes in one of the men's dressing rooms were about the same size as Xia Pinggan's. They were basically from big brands and luxury brands. Many of the clothes still had the tags, but they had not been worn. After finding a new set of clothes to change into, he felt much more comfortable. Although Xia Pinggan was a little anxious and did not know how Xia Ning was doing, he could only suppress his temper and settle down in the villa. He was going to wait until his body recovered a little before going out. His body was not nimble, and he had consumed a lot of divine power in the past 2 days. If he did not recover, he would be courting death if he encountered an assassin or an invading creature such as the demon fire spider. Because there was nothing to do, Xia Pinggan began to look for things in the villa that could be used. There were several cars in the villa's garage. They were a Rolls-Royce, a Porsche, and a motorcycle. This configuration was definitely the standard of a rich man in Ijo. In the villa's basement, Xia Pinggan also found a shotgun and several large boxes of shotgun bullet. There was also a wilderness survival backpack and a hunting knife. It seemed that the original owner of this place was very fond of hunting. In a bedroom, Xia Pinggan also found a monocular and some batteries. There were also 2 unopened new cell phones and a few SIM cards. In a study of the villa, Xia Pinggan also found 2 samurai swords and some Chinese handicrafts that the original owner had collected. The handicrafts were all strange things such as masks, ivory, and cow horns. There was a lot of food and drinks stored in the villa, so there was no need to worry. There were also some other miscellaneous items. The money that was left at home was also more than $300,000. In the utility room where the lawnmower was stored, there was also some fertilizer and some miscellaneous items. There was also a backup generator and some gasoline in the villa. There was a private fallout shelter under the villa. If the generator was running, it could provide electricity to the fallout shelter and the villa. In the afternoon, while his body was recovering, Xia Pinggan took out some gasoline from the villa and found some bottles in the kitchen. He poured the gasoline, fertilizer, and the raw oil in the kitchen into the bottles to make some gasoline bombs. The shotgun's barrel was a bit long. Xia Pinggan directly used a saw to cut the shotgun's barrel in half to make it easier to carry. For the entire day, the sound of gunfire from the direction of the city did not stop. However, this community was in the suburbs. Other than the military helicopter that crashed in the community last night, it was very quiet here. After working until the evening, he ate some food and felt a bit better. Xia Pinggan directly went to the fallout shelter connected to the basement of the villa. He locked the door of the fallout shelter and then began to fuse with the boundary bead that Song Jie created in the fallout shelter. As long as he was not unconscious or mentally weak, it would not affect the fusion of the boundary bead. After dripping a drop of blood, Xia Pinggan turned into a huge cocoon of light very quickly. Xia Pinggan opened his eyes. He was standing on a high platform. The high platform was surrounded by beautiful mountains and rivers. The beautiful mountains and rivers were right in front of him. In front of him, there was a tall and upright figure. The figure stood in front of him and looked at the mountains and rivers. A yellow dragon coiled around the arm of the tall and straight figure. The yellow dragon was only as thick as an arm, but it had distinct scales and horns. It circled around the figure, flying up and down in a very mischievous manner. A dragon, it really was a dragon! Xia Pingan was greatly shocked. The tall and upright figure in front of him did not turn around, but spoke. Songjia, you have great talent. As my scribe, you have tied ropes to record things for many years. However, as time passes, those ropes will rot and break. There are too many ropes in the warehouse. Perhaps you have forgotten what the ropes you tied represent. I have forgotten as well. It is even more impossible for the future generations to remember. Yesterday, you told me that you have learned something from the book. The day before yesterday, you told me that you obtained the Book of Luo by chance and gained enlightenment from it. You realized that the sun and the moon all have their own trajectories. Birds, fishes, and insects all have their own shape. Hundreds of beasts leave different footprints wherever they go. You wanted to express the great Tao of heaven and earth with symbols, which are called words. It's like a simplified rock painting, but it's even simpler than a painting. Words can be carved on rocks and objects, and they won't rot even after 10,000 years. They can record everything. That way you can record everything and let future generations know. I think your idea is pretty good. In the future, you can create your words on Phoenix stage so that the descendants of the Yen Huang tribe can know just what we did countless years later, and just what sort of dangers and sacrifices we went through to create such a huge home and protect this beautiful land. As soon as that person spoke, Xia Pingan knew that it was the Yellow Emperor. Creating words? It might be difficult for others, but for Xia Pingan, it was a simple matter. Xia Pingan's favorite thing in his previous life was to figure out why words were written the way they were written. Ever since he was in middle school, he had flipped through books such as The Sea of Chinese Characters, Dictionary of Variant Characters, and Shuo Wenjiezi. To Xia Pingan, Chinese characters were the most beautiful words in the world. They were the most ancient and mysterious symbols. According to the information that Xia Pingan had learned, when other summoners in this world fused with the divine runic master's realm pearl, the words they created should be the words of this world. As long as they could form a system, it seemed like they could also fuse successfully. Moreover, the divine runes they obtained would be very strange and had different uses. The divine power they obtained would also be very different. He just did not know if his own divine runes and the divine runes of this world would be more powerful if he created the original Chinese divine runes. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.